Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Thomas Podcast with a very hoarse-sounding Alex Kingdom, joined today by John and Rees. We were meant to have six of us, but three of them have miraculously disappeared. So it seems like the universe has been balanced in some form.
It's almost like somebody snapped their fingers and we were surrounded by dust.
Oh, that was me earlier, right? Because I accidentally did it. I was making a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I wonder what that dust was. I just thought there was some shit going on down the road.
Thought it was coffee granules.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, how are you all doing? On this wonderful Monday? It is Wednesday, the 1st September, but this is coming out on, what is it, the 6th, I think? Is that how it works? I think so, 6th.
Oh, that is definitely how time works.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is definitely how the calendar and time works.
How are you guys? You guys all right?
Very good, thank you.
Thank
Yes, I eagerly anticipate the arrival of my PlayStation 5 last Thursday or tomorrow as we're recording.
Yeah, it's I'm excited for you, mate. I think it's been great. I think you'll love it. Especially with the difficulty to be able to purchase one. So yeah, Rees, how are you, mate? It's been a while since we've seen you on the show. I think actually it was Avengers: Age of Ultron, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it?
I think yes. I think it's been it was February, so it's been about 6 months. Like it was late February. So
too long. Yeah, very good, thank you. Just work stuff and look forward to either the Daleks in a few weeks' time. And it's good to actually see a lot of people get tickets now. Resale stuff, so it's all good.
I wonder if as well whether they've laxed a few of the numbers in the room or whatever, because it seems like it wasn't just like 4 or 5 tickets. It seems like it was 20, 22, 20.
I mean the restrictions haven't changed, so I doubt they've changed the rules. It could just be that actually over the weeks have collected a number of sort of returns and then put them all on sale at once. Obviously, if people just sign up to be BFI members anyway, it's a very good idea.
Yeah, it's a very, and also it helps out a lovely place as well.
It helps. It helps British film.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it shows your commitment to the BFI and to Doctor Who.
Absolutely. Now, lads, obviously this is a big podcast, so I won't watch too much, but I always do this every week. Obviously, we've all seen What If this week. What brief thoughts? Did we enjoy it? Hooray! What do we all think of What If Doctor Strange? I think they call it What If Doctor Strange lost his heart or something.
What if he lost his heart instead of his hands, which is a bit... I mean, as a surgeon, I'd say that the hands are probably a bit more important, but I don't know. I enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite episode. I think the episode one's still the best one for me. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was alright. It's kind of bugging me who the animation actually looked like. The animation reminded me of something, but I can't for the hell of me think what it was. The actual animation of Doctor Strange, but yeah, I thought it was pretty good, pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, also I'd have to appreciate as well. This was the first week where every single one of the cast sort of returned. I don't think there was any stand-ins for previous characters to my knowledge. I think everyone came back because obviously obviously they just didn't have Mordo in it at all. So apart from that, I think Tilda Swinton came back. Obviously Benedict Cumberbatch came back, Rachel Adams came back, and Benedict Wong came back. So I think this week was the first time where everyone was actually in it in their assigned roles. I thought this one was really cool because it was a very I say it wasn't very small scale story, but the beats to get to each point were very minimal, and it had time to breathe, I thought, whereas some of the other episodes, especially episodes 1 and 3, were like boom, 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 we're gonna go here, then we're gonna go there, and it was very quick, and you sort of, if you weren't paying attention like dead on, you would just miss a bunch of information and you would just be like lost.
I felt they definitely got a lot done in that half an hour time frame.
Yeah,
nothing felt rushed at all.
So yeah, I don't know. I think these What If episodes for me just keep getting better and better, to be honest. I don't know if it's becoming getting more useful to the format, or I just think they're more interesting. I like this week as well. We're getting more with the Watcher, and this time actually a character interacts with him. So I want how much further we're going to go. And obviously, there was going to be a point in the series because he always goes, "I cannot interfere. I can only watch." At some point, it's going to interfere, and that's how we're going to get these multiverse sort of characters interacting. So I'm fairly sure that's the route they're going to go down, where you're going to get Star-Lord, T'Challa interacting with Captain Carter and stuff like that, and to fight something. But everyone dies in this episode. It's very bleak. Nobody survives. Everyone dies. It's a very dark episode.
Well, Squid Thing returns, isn't it, from the first episode? So that's going to be a recurring thing that just pops up.
Yeah, exactly. Christ. But no, I thought it was really good. There was only one element that didn't really work for me, is that like it's sort of a bit weird where the intro goes, "I split you in 2 different timelines." I'm like, I was a bit late on. They were like, "How do we get around? Who do we get to fight him? Well, we can only get him to fight him. So we can go the HM1, split him in half." It was like, oh, okay. I don't know how she can do that from beyond the grave, but we'll let her go. But it's fine. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a very solid episode of TV, and that's what I'm getting from these. It's a nice little break because obviously I do love my weekly MCU content. But I'm also enjoying the break that we got in between. I think next is Hawkeye, if I'm not mistaken, which I'm very looking forward to. Let's say, solid. Very low stakes. So let's talk about the high stakes. We're here obviously to talk about the culmination of, I'm going to say, about 20 films, 20 podcasts up to this point of Marvel content. We're here to talk about Avengers Infinity War, which came out in 2018, and boy do I feel fucking old. I remember getting excited for this film coming out. Honestly, I remember seeing the first trailer, with the Thanos glove and him only having 2 of the stones in the glove at the time, and not knowing, and obviously it was a big closing shot of Cap holding back the gauntlet, and it was just exciting. And now we're 3 years later, more films down the line, a whole new phase to look forward to. And where's the time gone, guys?
Very quickly.
But yeah, no, obviously I have a funny story with going to see this. I went to the opening night, and I went with my mate, and I had a bottle of Coke with me, and I spilt it all the way down me at the beginning of the film. So for the whole screening, I just had a wet trousers for the whole fucking thing, and it was the most uncomfortable ever. But obviously, being in a cinema, it dries quicker, thankfully, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, that was so hard to see this film, and then 2 seconds before I just spilled fucking water on myself. I'm like, oh my fucking god!
Bizarrely, it was a bottle of Coke that stunk of finish.
Yeah. I didn't piss myself. That was not.
He was too excited for the film.
Yeah, that's excited. A little bit of excitement piddle, but not all the way. No.
I mean, it is a 2.5-hour movie, and there would have been about 20 minutes of trailers beforehand. We all got a little bit desperate towards the end.
Yeah, especially with Endgame as well. I mean, whenever I saw Endgame 2 or 3 times, I sort of picked out which moments I didn't really care about, and then went for a pee during those moments.
I mean, Endgame should really have had an interval. I come from, I come from the age where actually, if you had a 3-hour film, you had an interval. I mean, I remember seeing the Al Pacino, Robert De Niro film Heat at the cinema, and we got an interval halfway through in case anybody wanted to get a drink, go and have a Jimmy, or do whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously we're going to be getting to that film down the road. I think it's still 6 podcasts away, so. That's the gap. But yeah, let's get into this one, guys. I mean, for me, obviously, you know me, Mr. Negative. I fucking hate this film. No, I don't. I think it's brilliant from start to finish. I watched this today. I only have one issue with the film, and it's not really an issue with the film. I think this film. I'm going to be honest. Obviously, you guys know when I've spoken about it in the past. The Avengers Infinity War and Endgame 2-part are 2 of my favorite Marvel films, period. And they're both cracking from start to finish. I've watched this film maybe 12 times. I still don't get bored now. I never oh God, here's this bit. It goes by in a flash. It's 2.5 hours of brilliance for me. I think Josh Brolin steals the show. I think he is marvelous in this. I mean, the man from fucking Goonies, for Christ's sake, gives us one of the best superhero villains of all time. And I'm saying he's up there with Heath Ledger Joker for me. I think he has the presence. He has this brilliance of, you sort of get where he's coming from in a strange way, and I also think as well, he's brilliantly written as that he doesn't really kill for excess too often. If he doesn't need to kill, he won't. I think he's brilliantly complicated. I think, considering an universe where the villains are sometimes a bit crap. I know me and John spoke about this in the last Marvel review that we did of Black Widow, where the villain sort of took the back seat a little bit. This film, I think Thanos is just top tier and steals the show. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the MCU, I think Thanos is up there with Killmonger for me. I think Killmonger has that very same thing where actually you get his motivations, you're almost on his side, you can understand why people see it his way. So I think those are the top two MCU villains for me. I think they're both cracking. I can't really argue with much of what you've said there, to be honest.
This is a surprise.
I rewatched it. I rewatched it earlier today. I think the one thing that I might quibble with, and it would only be a quibble because it's a matter of opinion, is saying that Josh Brolin steals the show. I kind of edge towards Chris Hemsworth on that. I think he's fantastic in this, but then that's partly because he spends a fair bit of time with Rocket and Groot, which is like my favorite superhero team up ever.
Yeah,
so that is just a personal opinion thing. I think this is Hemsworth's best film with Thor. I think he's even better in this than he is in Endgame, and he's great in Endgame.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm. What do you think, Reese? Actually, before I say anything else.
Agree with both thoughts. I think it is like Thanos' movie essentially. It is from his perspective. Like, even though what he's doing is obviously not good, but like you said, you got the emotional connection with Gamora, which that surprised me when I was watching it. I didn't realize that would be quite such a central point, having that perspective, and obviously the Soulstone thing. But it's relentless. Like, just from the get go, like, being like destroying Asgard to the end with the snap, just doesn't let off. But it managed to fit a lot of really great character stuff in there, like John said, Chris is Thor and Gamora and everybody. So just a great combination of the MCU so far.
Yeah, I mean, you literally start up with Thanos killing MCU regulars, and it doesn't last from that point. It just doesn't let up from that point.
I think my favourite thing is probably the Hulk thing, because I think that's probably one of the things like, what happened? And they just like straight away, just like,
no, I'm with you, and on this, I think like you said, it is relentless. It is fundamentally brilliant, and I think you've got to give credit to the Russos here on that, because they have a way of just writing characters so that you're endeared. I mean, look, they literally said they could have flipped this film and told it completely from Thanos' perspective and made the Avengers look like villains, and I can totally see how they could have done that, to be honest with you. Like, it's so easy just to, and I think as well, I like how, I don't know whether you've seen this, but they added like a DVD extra or something, where they were like, right, we had every single superhero on a whiteboard, and we just thought about it for hours of who we're going to put together, pair them, and they paired them up brilliantly. But I still think, even though we get Endgame, this is the best superhero interactions we have ever seen in any superhero film, and that includes Justice League, both versions, the shit one and the good one. I think you can't beat the interactions here between Doctor Strange and Iron Man, or you get more of Steve and Black Panther, and Thor, Groot and Rocket as well. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think, I mean, without spoiling what's to come in a few weeks' time, I prefer this to Endgame, largely for that reason. I think in terms of set pieces, Endgame may slightly have the edge, but actually in terms of character development and that, the way they bounce off each other, the snappiness of the script, and the chemistry between the actors, I think this just nails it.
Yeah, and this is where I will say my one issue, and this has become more prevalent in Endgame because I know you guys are gonna have the same calls with some things. Like I'm fairly sure, but to get to this point, they had to jump one specific storyline well into the future, and we just had to go, oh, all right, even though we have very minimal build up, which is the relationship between Wanda and Vision. Now, after seeing WandaVision, I care for this relationship a lot more. At the time of seeing the film, I was like, so they're dating now, I guess, after 3 lines in Captain America Civil War. And we're just meant to go with the fact that they're madly in love. I think for me, again, if I was perfect, I would love to have had, in a sense, WandaVision in between these two in a perfect world, sort of bridge that gap and be able to have more time with them. But I do think it is a leap from where we know them before. And maybe that's because I've gone back and I've watched them back to back and been able to see this. But I think you've just got to kind of go along with it when considering the rest of the plots in this film were meticulously planned and done so well. That's the only one where you kind of go, all right, I guess.
I mean, it's Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany. Who would not fall in love with Elizabeth Olsen? Who would not fall in love with Paul Bettany?
Yeah, I'm not complaining at that. I'm just saying,
even with a fucking red face, it just.
Do either of you follow Paul Bettany on Instagram? Because he has one of the best Instagrams ever. He's just such a.
I don't actually. I don't.
He just
like he goes behind the scenes pictures of like half the face of like the Vision stuff, and
he's like, oh shit, it's a Monday. Best get on with it. He's so brilliant. But yeah, no, I don't mind the actual written stuff. That's just me being like I said, it is a minor nitpick of to get to where we are. You've got to do a lot of assuming and be like, oh, okay, so we just let.
You kind of have to go. Oh right, okay, stuff's happened that we haven't seen, but we don't have to be told everything. I don't know. I think as an audience, we're mature enough and clever enough to sit there and actually go, right, okay, they've spent a bit of time together, they've grown closer. They've ended up in Scotland fucking somehow.
Where they'll deep fry your kebab, apparently.
Which sounds painful.
Yeah, oh God. I don't know where we move on from there. John, do you want to go on to the next
I don't know where we move on from there, but I think it's important that we do. I agree that is a little bit of an issue. But I think, as I say, that we can all sort of
you can look past it.
Yeah, you can ride with it because I think actually that the performances by Olsen and Bettany are convincing enough to convince us that these two characters do have a connection.
Yeah,
it's not just been done for the sake of it. It's a convincing performance that the chemistry between them's good. So I think that kind of it does kind of work for me.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. In terms of in the film, I have no quarrels with it. It's more, like I said, it is a very minor nitpick. It doesn't ruin the film. It's just, I think I was definitely a bit more confused when on first watch, whereas now I expect it. It doesn't bother me. But no, it doesn't ruin the film at all. Like you said, their performances are brilliant because, like you said, this Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany, you can't really go wrong. I think, like you said with Chris Hemsworth, I think this is Paul Bettany's best MCU performance. I mean, you can kind of go WandaVision if you like, but he's certainly, for most of that, playing a similar but different character. I think Paul Bettany actually really excels. Also, he excels in the comedy, which WandaVision showed, but he really excels in the deep moments. I mean, to skip right to the end very quickly, where the stone's getting ripped out, and you have the slow motion, very Zack Snyder-esque, and almost, and you get the bit where he's like just trying to coach Wanda into like killing him, and it's not. He does it so well, where he's just. It's brilliant, and the music by Alan Silvestri is phenomenal in this film. I've said that as well. It's one of those MCU soundtracks that stand out. You hear everything. You hear the Thanos theme. You get bits of the Captain America theme as well. It is one of those soundtracks that just blows you away. I think it's fundamental. Yeah. Everything in this film is brilliant. I think it's essentially what we're going to be saying. But
that scene, like you said, obviously those two got the intimate thing of obviously her trying to kill him. But obviously you got the fallen heroes, and really epic.
Yeah, I think
the score is it is brilliantly scored. I was kind of thinking about that when I was watching it this afternoon. It is you know, it takes the atmosphere all the way through, because I think that given that this is a pretty freaking bleak film, you know, there isn't much of a let up really. You know, you get your comedic moments, but there's not much of a let up really. That score really kind of keeps you with it and keeps you going along. You know, because it kind of takes you with the mood.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, and I think as well, I think a good soundtrack keeps you in the mood of the film, like you said, but also gives you those, especially in these sorts of, serves as a nostalgic purpose, similar to how Endgame's had, and like you get those bits of those themes where you get the Captain America theme and he steps out of the shadows, and it gets you right in the moment. And stuff like that. And I think, Alan Sebastian knows what he's doing anyway. I think his first soundtrack was Captain America 1, and he did all the Avengers ones since then. And from there, he's brilliant. He's a brilliant artist. But yeah, I think it's again. I think it's difficult to pair these up, but I think his Endgame and Infinity War soundtracks are brilliant. Both of them. But yeah, I think as well, this film, like you said, John, I like that it's a fully bleak Marvel film. And because there's not many jokes and they're like light moments, when the jokes go, they land because they're not going to go. They're not trying to go for a joke every 2 fucking minutes.
I mean, there's the scene with the eyeball. The scene where Rocket gives the eyeball is just brilliant. And then obviously at the end you get the payoff of like, you probably should have watched that, and it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm totally with you. I knew that I was one of those tricks where I think I definitely forgot when watching it, because although I saw his eye, how did you smuggle that? Well, to get the eye, to smuggle it up my.
Yeah, and he's like, "Is it working?" It's like still dark. He's like, "Nope."
Yeah, it's just like, it's just dark.
Yeah, I think this isn't an issue, but I do just want to quickly pose this to you. And again, I think it's one of those things. But to me, whenever it was this, I was like, where would he fit? Some people have said that there's not enough Nick Fury in these 2 films, but for me, I don't know where he would really fit. A man who shoots guns and is not powered in any way, what would he do? But
I think the sole purpose that Nick Fury would serve in these 2 films, he does serve at the end of this film in the post-credit scene.
Yeah,
he essentially has one job here,
to bring in the backup,
to send that page.
Yeah,
and he just about manages to do it.
But he doesn't even get to say his motherfucker, unfortunately. Still,
yeah, I mean, that is actually one of my favorite post-credit scenes, because it's just like it kind of, obviously you see the snap, you see all the people disappear, and it's like, oh wow, the people are disappearing, and it's not until you actually see the impact of that on New York, where there were like cars suddenly crashing and helicopters suddenly smashing into buildings because there's nobody there flying them anymore, and it's like, wow, this is the impact of what that has caused. It's not just that 50% of people have gone. A significant number of the people that are left are going to be killed or seriously injured, because some of the people that are gone are doing shit like flying planes or in charge of nuclear missiles, or, you know, just seriously shit gone down.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I think I'm with you on that, and I think people say, "Oh, you don't really get enough of that," but to me, I think all you need is that one scene to show it. I mean, you definitely get a lot more in Endgame anyway, of a surface level of how bleak and how shit things are in the world. But no, I think that's a brilliant post-credit scene. I think, you know, and like I said, I love Nick Fury, I love Samuel Jackson, but I think him being there would defeat his purpose. Like John said, he's sort of there to bring in the backup, to rally the troops, get them where they need to be, and that is his job.
Yeah. If Mjolnir can't take down Thanos, what is a guy with a gun going to do?
And one eye. He got defeated by a cat, for fuck's sake.
What?
No, I don't mean like that. John, do you think you could take down Thanos?
I think Thor nearly did, and Thor had one eye.
Well,
until it was replaced.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, Thanos hasn't fought me. Yes, he has. Thanos hasn't fought me twice. um, but yeah, no. Again, I think it's brilliant. I think soon we're going to go not step by step, but we're going to go as close to that as possible because it's set piece after set piece.
Yeah,
it's sort of
cool.
easy to talk to them in order. Because essentially, this film, like John and Rees alluded to, you essentially follow Thanos through every single kind of different set piece. There's not really time for the story to breathe and people to travel. You may get 2 scenes of Tony, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange traveling to Titan, and that's sort of it. Apart from that, you're sort of traveling to set piece. I know, John, you just said a second ago is the post-credit scenes, one of the effect post-credit scenes. This film's opening is one of my favorite openings of any Marvel film. I love the fact that over the Marvel fanfare, you don't get the Marvel music. You get a nice little cameo. You know, Marvel like their cameos, but this time it's from none other than Kenneth Branagh, director of Thor. And he does the Asgardian signal, which is then picked up by the Guardians. But the scene is so brilliant. You get highs, but mostly lows, and I like how you start with Ebony Moore giving the speech about being killed by the humble personage of Thanos, and you are saving the world, and your sacrifices help. It's like, straight away what this guy is about. And I think this is the only scene for me that I don't really understand. I don't think it really fits in with the rest of Thanos' kind of ethos, because they are just slaughtering these Asgardians, whereas to the rest of the film, Thanos doesn't really kill unless he has to. This is the only scene where he really kills for excess for me. I suppose at this point he hasn't got the stones yet. Maybe that's what it is. So he's still doing the old method of killing half, but I don't know.
I think that a degree of that is about the message that it sends out as well. It's he completely brings Asgard to its knees. It's the message that sends out to anybody that's going to try and stop him. It's like a kind of, I have arrived.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think as well, you get the brilliant scene as well where you get I know what it's like to lose, and you immediately within a minute of the film, you know exactly what his ethos is and what he's doing. By the way, I'm one of the people that actually like the fact you don't see the decimation of Xandar, the fact that already in the film he's got 1 stone. I think that just makes him even more of a boss. And you're like, shit, we should take this guy seriously. I think especially as well that we've seen the power of the Nova Corps in the first Guardians film. Like, they're not easy to beat. So if this guy can just absolutely decimate the planet without any stones, it shows the power of this man. But yeah, obviously you get the amazing interaction as well between Loki and Thanos. For the first time, we didn't get any in Avengers, did we? We got him talking to the Chitauri bloke. This is the first time you technically get to see Thanos and Loki one-on-one. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I also think as well, I love that. Again, good thing from the score, you get that one bit of hope when Loki goes, we have a Hulk. And the music picks up again. You're thinking, yes, he's going to kick ass. And within seconds, he just gets put down. I also like as well that you never see Thanos use a stone here. This is just pure Thanos Titan strength kicking the shit out of who we thought up to be this point the strongest character in the MCU, and Thanos decimates him within seconds. I think
I remember there's a lot of speculation at the time. People said, did he just stone that? But I think the director's kind of said, well, the stones didn't light up, so that's just pure Thanos. But like I said, I'm hoping to see, like, obviously you've only seen teasers of him like throughout the MCU, so now it's time to prove like why he's been bigged up, and that first 7-10 minutes just brutal.
Yeah. I also like as well that Heimdall actually gets a really good end. He's sort of the linchpin for this whole film to work, especially on the Earth side of things. Him sending Hulk to the Sanctum Sanctorum, I think is brilliant. And then his death. I mean, I'm a big Idris Elba guy, not to play Doctor Who. I'm very similar to John, but I'm a big Idris Elba fan. But yeah, I think the fact that straight away in the first 5 minutes you lose 2 of your main core characters. I still don't really know how to feel about Loki coming back on Disney Plus. I enjoyed the show, but I still think this would have been the better end. And if we never saw him again, I would have been happy, because I think it does take away from the fact that obviously I love the line, the kind of meta line from Thanos going, no resurrections this time. And I'm like, you always sort of did. At least for us. But they're never going to get bored of Tom Hiddleston, are they? So we may as well just get used to it. I'm not bored of Tom Hiddleston either. But yeah, I think this is actually Tom Hiddleston's best acting as Loki at all, and he literally gets about 2 minutes here. But I think the subtle looks he gives when he goes Odin's son, he looks at Thor and he knows that this is sort of probably going to kill him off. It's brilliant. It also sets up so many things with the "you're going to die for that," and obviously that sets off Thor's heart. It's a brilliant opening scene from start to finish. It's fundamentally brilliant. I also really love the lighting. It's so dark. It's atmospheric. And it shows the Russos in this film aren't going to fuck around. They'll kill whoever they want.
Yeah, like I said, kind of just nobody's safe. Yeah, exactly. It's like,
yeah, I think it's brilliant. I also as well, that shot of Thor cowering over Loki's dead body is just harrowing.
Yeah. It all of it just impacts how serious this situation is.
Yeah, it sets the tone from the get-go.
It gives it a gravitas.
Yeah. I also want to give, we're giving so many shout outs to great actors, and I guarantee we'll get into Zoe Saldana later on, but I also want to give a shout out in this film to Mark Ruffalo, because I think he's incredibly brilliant. I mean, they're all brilliant, but I think if we talk about best performances, I think Mark Ruffalo is brilliant here. And obviously, this is the only time he's ever really had to be Bruce throughout the whole film, so we're sort of just relying on Ruffalo being Ruffalo and doing his thing. I think he does it well. I'm one of the only people I think in the world that doesn't really mind that they switched out Ed Norton. To be honest, I'm a big Ruffalo fan in comparison. Some people are like, no, they should have stuck with Ed Norton, but I'm more Ruffalo on that one. I do love the line that Thanos is coming, and then Doctor Strange just goes, "Who?" And then it gets set into the fanfare. I think it's brilliant. Yeah, and then obviously this is sort of where we get our amazing team up starting. Our first group is probably my favorite, really. I think in terms of the interactions, obviously it does lead on to meeting up with the Guardians as well. I know obviously we're going to talk about Thor, Groot, and Rocket as a little mini group, but I think the team of Thor, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man is my favorite group, I think, of this film, especially with Doctor Strange and Iron Man, because I think Benedict Cumberbatch and Robert Downey Jr. just bounce off each other brilliantly from the get-go. Like instantly, they just bounce off each other brilliantly. One of my favorite lines is when he goes, "Say, Doc, you're actually moving your hair," and he goes, "Not at the moment," which implies that sometimes he just moves his hair around just to look even cooler, which I really like. I think it's brilliant. I think as well, the Doctor Who writers can take some hints of this. This is how you write exposition in a film, because the Russos have to explain a lot to us about what the Infinity Stones really mean. Because at this point, we've sort of been spoon-fed little details, but in this film, we have to learn a lot very quickly. And Wong tells us it in about 20 seconds and tells us the importance of what the stones are, what they mean, what Thanos can do with the stones pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliantly. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's very cleverly done. There's a lot of information to impart, and it doesn't feel like you're being sort of info dumped on or anything like that. It's just right. We need to know that, and we know that, and we move on, sort of thing.
Yeah, kind of spice in like the comedy moments, and also reset up as well the Civil War stuff with like why the kind of team split up as well, like the A and B story of that, and I'm still sort of annoyed that I kind of sound like John will get this. I sort of sound like CM Punk here, but I'm sort of annoyed that Ben and Jerry's didn't release those Marvel Ben and Jerry's flavors. I think I would have liked to have tried a few of the Ben and Jerry Marvel flavors. I think they would have sold quite well as well, actually. But yeah, especially after film.
Yeah, I think it would have been a pretty good thing to do. But as well, I also have to give credit to. I love that again. The Russos and Marcus went through brilliant writing. But my favorite line is Thanos is coming. It doesn't matter who you're not talking to. I think that is a brilliant line. Again, this film is just so good. I could just go on about how much I love it all day. I love the one take shot of when Tony leaves the sanctum and you see the car almost run into them. I think that's brilliant. Stan Lee's cameo is one of my favorites. I think it's great. I think as well the stakes don't let up. It really lets up for about a 2-minute scene between Tony and Pepper, which obviously sets up Endgame more than it does this film, to be honest. But yeah, I think overall it's a brilliant opening. And obviously then we get into our first proper action set piece of the film between Ebony Moore and I don't know what they called him in this film, because obviously he used to be called Black Obsidian, but they changed it in this film to something else. 2 members of the Black Order, one of them being the Magic Man, the other one being the Beast. And you get the nice little back and forth where like Tony's like evacuate the area, and then Strange does a spell which blows leaves away, and he like just winks at Tony. I think it's brilliant. And obviously you get their egos where he goes, Stonekeeper, does this weasel speak for you? And he goes, no, I speak for myself. And he like does that's so good. And obviously then you get the really cool glasses off, nanotech suit up. And then you get the fact that you find out that Ruffalo has erectile dysfunction for the whole film. Isn't it wonderful? I mean, they knew what they were doing with some of the writing there, didn't they?
That was their intention, yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think this fight scene is really good as well. We're going to be saying this a lot about the fight scenes. Probably one of my least favorites of a really good bunch, because not a lot happens here really. This is very early on the film, so our heroes kind of get battered very quickly. A few of my favorites is the shot in which Spider-Man comes into it. I love the thing that it looks like it's going to hit Tony and it stops. You just see Spidey's little head pop through. I love the whole, save the wizard thing, and you can see the cape doing some stuff, because the cape is also kind of underused until this film as well. You don't really see the purpose of the cape until this film. I think that's really cool. I love Ebony Moore, actually. I think he's probably the best of the Black Order for me. In terms of characterization, I think he gets the most and he's the most villainous. Even though I think he is the first to die. Of the
probably at least on screen, but yeah, no, there's a lot of
there's a lot to do.
mythos.
But yeah, I don't know, and also Wong cutting off the arm of that beast thing is pretty funny. Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I mean, what are your guys' favorite bits from this? If any, if it's just not all brilliant.
It's just all great for me.
Yeah, like I said, the Spider-Man joining. I probably about the Hulk thing. Like my only thing about that was probably, I think, well, obviously the Hulk gets defeated, and you think, oh, he's just too scared to sort of come out. But obviously, for an Endgame, that it was like a conflict issue between personalities, which again, just the film doesn't have time to do. So, yeah, it's kind of these things you don't really know, sort of like, is it that? I was a bit confused, but it's just so much going on that you just go along with it. But
yeah, no, yeah. I get you. Like you said, I think it comes to a point of a juggling act in which, unfortunately, some characters sort of get shafted in terms of development. I do think Hulk is that, especially going into Endgame. The thing they do with him in Endgame somewhat infuriates me, because that is a big thing for the character, and they just skip it. But we'll get to the Endgame review and talk about that. But in this one,
what's going to happen at the end of the film? Have you seen the scene of that?
Yeah. But it was just going to happen, wasn't it? There was no build up. It was just going to be a thing where they just merge, isn't it? There was no kind of build up. It was just going to it was going to come out, and they would just be this merged version, and it would be like.
Yeah, it would have ruined the pace of the final act of the film, because it just stops dead to it'd be like, nah.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking as well, it would be really awkward for Black Widow if they got back together and then she had to take that. I mean, Christ. But yeah, I think it's just all brilliant. Shout out to Ned for saying, "Holy shit, we're all gonna die." I really love that little cameo from Ned. I think he's brilliant. I love it all in this first bit. I think it's all great, and obviously it builds up to to then they go to the spaceship and you get the Iron Spider suit. First, I want to get your opinion on something because I've not had either of you guys on Spider-Man reviews. I don't mind the Tony Stark Spider-Man stuff. I think it's a different take on the character we've not seen in films yet, and I personally quite like it. I think, it's not obviously the usual Spider-Man story of Uncle Ben dies, Spider-Man becomes Spider-Man, great power comes great responsibility thing. It's more tech-based, but I think in the world that it's set in, it fits quite well, and I rather like it. What's your guys' take?
I think when you've got 60 years worth of Spider-Man stories, something that takes it in a slightly different direction, somebody gives you a slightly different slant on it, is a good thing. I don't really understand people to go, well, it's not true to this, that, and the other, because actually, throughout the comic books, there's been so many different variants of Spider-Man now.
Yeah.
You're never gonna stick to everything, and like even the Raimi films, which most people sort of go to and say, "Oh, these are the best ones," etc. They kind of crap all over the comic book canon. I've read a lot of the original run of Amazing Spider-Man comics, and the Amazing Spider-Man films are probably closer to them than the Raimi films are. But it's the Raimi films everybody loves because it's their own idea of Spider-Man, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, don't bother me. I think, I say with like Homecoming, the whole thing of that was like he was more than the suit. Do you mean he was kind of hadn't given this thing, and then so I kind of think that resolved it there and then. But like with like the Sam Raimi films, like it's such a cool suit, but you don't think, oh, that was like homemade, kind of like
no,
he must have got some really cool stuff together to make that. So yeah, nice. Yeah, no, never an issue for me.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice take on that, actually.
And also, for me, I think, and this film confirms it, again, it's just because I grew up in the era, I suppose, but for me, Tom Holland is still the best Peter Parker and Spider-Man combination. I don't dislike any of the Spider-Men. I think they'll have their different values. I think Andrew Garfield is the best thing from two very, I don't want to say mediocre films, but let's be honest, they're not the most interesting films. And I think Tobey Maguire is quite shit, but in quite shit campy films, in which I enjoy. I enjoy how campy
Rees
they are.
John's face just went.
I
enjoy
how campy they are, but I don't like Tobey Maguire in the films.
And that's the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening.
Right, so new project for me and John on the podcast is the Spider-Man trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, without Spider-Man, you wouldn't, without that Spider-Man trilogy, you almost certainly wouldn't have an MCU.
I know, but this is the same old William Hartnell ad thing I get, isn't it? Like, I'm not a massive fan of William Hartnell. Because that William Hartnell, you wouldn't get.
Yeah. We should definitely do the Spider-Man trilogy, and we should do the Dark Knight trilogy, actually.
Yeah, Dark Knight trilogy is legitimately good. I'll give you that before anyone shouts at me. Yeah, but no, I think in this film,
project for a few months time.
Yeah, we'll leave it for a few months. We got me and John have we have a lot going on.
You should do it in the build up to No Way Home. Really, that'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Hype thing.
I might even rewatch the Garfield films.
I thought for a second. I thought you meant the Garfield live action, like the cat. I was like, "What's that got to do with Spider?" I realized you meant Andrew Garfield, and I was like, "That makes sense." I was like, "Look, Bill Murray's great, but those films are you're just all got shit."
Don't start knocking on Garfield. We all love Jennifer Love. Huge sets.
Oh, brilliant. Anyway, back to Infinity War because there's still so much to get through. Obviously, this sort of sets us up, and we leave Earth with these guys, and Peter gets a really cool Iron Spider suit, which I love. I know a lot of people go, "It's not like the one from the comics," and I go, "I don't care."
You want the one from the comics? Go and read the fucking comics. Love it.
Yeah.
And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, we leave those guys for a bit and then just going to float in space for about 40 minutes or whatever. And we get the introduction of the Guardians to the Rubber Band Man. And I think it's amazing. Obviously, as well, this one hits home for me and John because we've been reviewing Guardians, and this is the first time that you see them technically in the timeline. I think for about 5 years, if I'm not.
Yeah, they've been floating out there. They've been floating out there for a bit. They've been floating out there for a bit.
Yeah.
Because like the first two are like a few months apart, isn't it? And then these, like you said, it's been like
the first couple of films are meant to be really quite close together, and then there's a gap until now.
I think immediately they're on fire. I think Mantis gets better served in this film than she does Guardians 2, actually. I really like Mantis in this film because she's not just there as a joke. She actually has quite a bit of purpose. Obviously, she does have her jokey moments where, she's the only one that legitimately puts on a mean face when Peter goes, okay, Guardians, let's put on our mean faces. I also like the fact that they're still somewhat very much like crooks. Obviously Gamora, I think, is the most level-headed of them, but I love Rocket going, why are we doing this? And then Peter obviously gives us a reason of, it's just signaling help. And he goes, yeah, why are we doing it? And then Peter gives us real reasons for wanting to do it. So if we get some more units or credits or whatever they call it in the MCU, I think it's brilliant. I love Drax in the film. I think he's incredible in this one. Groot does get on my tits by about an hour in until he gets this really cool moment. Only because I feel like they do the same thing for about an hour, and then he gets one of the best moments in the MCU, and he is redeemed.
But he's teenage Groot.
I know he is,
as you know, teenage boys only do two things. One of them is play video games, and the other one cannot be shown in a 12A movie.
Didn't they refer? I think, if I'm not mistaken,
they probably did refer to that at some point.
Isn't it? I think it's in the Guardians 2 post-credit scene, isn't it? Like Peter walks in his room or something. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's another great film as well. Like you said, as soon as the scene starts, like that, the tone of the Guardians doesn't differ under the
it's
all the same.
And yet it still fits in with the rest of this film. It's great how actually it just matches. And I think that introducing Thor into that setup was undoubtedly the best way to do it. It was undoubtedly the best way to do it because, here's somebody who, these are the only characters who, when suddenly greeted by the God of Thunder, aren't going to go, fuck, it's the God of Thunder. They're just going to go, oh yeah, take that on board and off we go.
Yeah,
the fact he consistently refers to Rocket as a rabbit.
I also love the fact as well that, again, this is a bit of an in-game thing, but in in-game as well, when they're in Asgard and Rocket's running away, you hear two Asgardians go, get that rabbit. I think it's really funny that all Asgardians think that Rocket is a rabbit. But I was thinking as well, again, to show, again, this film does not let up for more than about a minute. Immediately as you get to the jump point for where the ship is, you just see the destruction, the bodies that are just floating in the air where that ship was destroyed. And you just go, fuck. Because you don't really see it in the opening scene. It's kind of crowded in shadow, and you see the real destruction. I mean, luckily everyone thought at this point that Korg, Meek, Valkyrie were dead. Thankfully they're not. They're safe. We'll see them in the next film. But yeah, man. And obviously I like the jump scare as well with Thor opening his eye, and nice imagery there.
I mean, and I think this segment probably contains one of my favorite moments in the film. Obviously as they're splitting. When Quill turns around to Rocket, he says, just so you know, I know for a fact that you're going with him because that's where Thanos isn't. And it's just brilliant.
Yeah. I also have to say as well, the fact that they're all flirting over Thor and going,
oh yeah.
This is not a dude. This is a man. You're a dude.
It's like if a pirate and angel had a
love child.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just sensational stuff.
I also love the stuff as well, but the back and forth between Thor and Quill, where he goes, "Oh, you'll clean up the captain." He says, "Rocket's the captain." I have Rocket going, "You seem to be quite perceptive." I think it's all brilliant. I think this mix is brilliant. Like obviously, you leave the crowd wanting more because we literally get about 5 minutes of it back and forth with fully Guardians and between Thor and Quill, but we're getting more of that in Thor 4 more Thor. So we're gonna be seeing that. Obviously Taika Waititi's back as well, so we know it's going to be pretty good because he can do no wrong. So yeah, I think it's brilliant. I love as well the whole thing of that they keep calling Pete, even though he's very much in shape, Chris Pratt. They keep saying you're one sandwich away from fat. It's like I think that's kind of like a minute reference to the fact that he used to be a bit bigger, and then he obviously got incredibly hench for this role.
It's good, but I'm just always a little bit worried about any reference to stuff like that in a film for teenagers. And I don't think it's overly sensitive to be so, because I think things like that can feed into eating disorders, and it's part of a wider issue with the way that we portray body shapes, the way that we portray food, and weight, and we have to be so careful about that where young people are concerned.
Definitely.
No, I totally get you, and I completely understand it. Obviously, I think that joke would still make it in today. I think. I'm not a
1.5-hour movie, but it just doesn't sit perfectly well to me.
No, I don't think it does. The only thing I will say, I'm not defending the joke, so you can entirely see it coming from, but I was saying the same thing. Is that obviously I think a lot of the people watching this film will know the back and forth between the Guardians, so it's a bit tongue in cheek, and they'll just say things shit to wind each other up, and not everything they say is legitimate fact.
That's a fair point. Oh, hello.
So, you saw in for Guardians 2, for example, where Peter and Rocket are literally making fun of each other's appearance, even though they look fine. And you get the line, "Sorry, I didn't mean raccoon. I meant trash panda." And he goes, "Is that better?" And he goes, "No, it's way worse." But yeah, no, I think it's brilliant. I love the whole Peter trying to mask his voice type deal. I think that's another brilliant thing, for sure. And him going, "Oh, I bid you good luck, morons," because Rocket calls them morons like those. Just brilliant writing again. And this is where I'm going to start jumping around and not do things in order, because obviously I think it's a bit jumbled. I do want to skip to the scene between Gamora and Peter, where we get a serious again very quickly, and it is obviously offhanded with a joke with Drax, but I love the interaction between these two. Because it catches you up instantly to what they've been going through and how close they've grown. And he's joking about the grenades, and it quickly turns into you need to kill me.
Yeah,
and it's what the fuck is this film? It's like what is going on in this film? We're joined by Adam and Moon.
So,
did you survive the snap? Because we thought you died.
Oh, yeah, I survived the snap. It felt really weird turning into this foam. I turned into foam rather than sort of dust this time. It was a different kind of snap.
You're just not in the quantum realm.
No rat. Well, no rat has saved me, but a llama did. So that was good. That felt good.
How are you, my friend?
I'm not too bad. How about you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. You've not missed too much. We're just at the bit of where Thor's popped off with the Rocket and Groot, and he's just left the Guardian ship. So you've not missed too much of the film so far. But yeah, like I was saying, guys, I think that scene between Peter and Gamora again, immediately, like Rees alluded to earlier, shows how much more emphasis they're putting on the Gamora Thanos relationship in this one as well. Because obviously you don't really get to see much of it. It's all coming from Gamora's perspective, really, in before this, and you get the tears, the swear me on your mother thing, which is, I think it's brilliant writing from start to finish. Who wants to jump in, if anyone does? No one. Okay, there we go. I'll just continue. I think one of the ejects that doesn't land for me, I know Alex being boohoo, is the whole Drax, the Drax thinking he's invisible thing. Maybe it's because I've seen the film 13 times and the joke just gets boring after the fourth time. I don't know. But I watched it this time and I went, that was a really good moment. And they undercut it with a joke when I didn't necessarily think it needed to be there. Because this film does very serious moments very well. And this, I feel like this one just took it out a bit. Am I being too harsh?
I think you might have a little bit of a point there.
This is great. This is a podcast where not everyone's arguing with me. This is brilliant.
Well, I will say, like, the scene is great and the joke is great, but I think the two together, sort of back to back, don't necessarily gel as well, I think. So in a way, I sort of get what you mean, but I think had that joke come
anywhere else,
I think anywhere else, maybe even sort of, maybe even earlier, maybe like when everybody's together just before, so when Thor's there, and so I can kind of get it from that side of things, yeah.
And then let's quickly hop to nowhere, shall we, and finish up this mini arc with our.
But surely we must be going somewhere.
Oh, shut up, Mantis, you bitch. I'm joking. Obviously, we get Benicio del Toro back as the Collector, as such, because he is, but he isn't in this film. I also think as well, this again, I know John, you're probably just comment this. The writing here again is phenomenal with Drax, and it brings back the Guardians 1 and 2 vibes with Thor, where he wants to, he has this vengeance so hard for Thanos that he will just try and kill him the first instance he sees him. And I think it's brilliant. The fact they didn't just forget about that, I think, is because it would have been so easy just to sort of forget about that in this film because there's so much going on, but they didn't.
Yeah, but having sown the seeds of it, they were never going to.
And also
that's where it was going to. Yeah,
having the amount of producers, I think James Gunn and Taika Waititi were both producers on the film as well. So clearly, this was a very group effort to make sure that every corner of the universe sort of had its fair due diligence, and clearly they all worked very.
All of the continuity worked out, and there was no sort of strands left hanging.
Yeah. I think again a brilliant scene where essentially Gamora just kills Thanos, and first time you watch it, you're like, the fuck? I want to ask. I remember, but the first time you watched it, did you catch on that he had already got the Reality Stone, or were you taken back? You might remember, because I was like, what the fuck? But my friend was like, he's clearly got the stone. I was like,
I was kind of like, there's gonna be a twist here, but I couldn't work out what it was.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. Again, and it's like you see, they complicate things. Obviously, Gamora throughout this has always wanted to kill Thanos and stop Thanos, but you see the complications. She somewhat has this care for Thanos because technically, he is her dad, and even though it's a very manipulative, dark relationship, even when she does the act, she's still grief stricken and kind of sad at what she had to do. And again, credits to Zoe Saldana, because I think, this film, she, again, maybe not due to her fault in the first two films, but she gets more to do and she does it brilliantly. I think this is a great scene, even before the whole switcheroo.
Absolutely.
And then obviously Josh Brolin kills it again when he reveals, no, I was just hiding the whole time and the whole place is burnt to crisps. And you get the bit as well. My favorite line, one of my favorite Thanos lines, is when he says to Quill before he takes Gamora away, is "I like you," because it shows he's like, do you know what, this guy's pretty suited to dating my daughter, but I'm still going to kill her.
He has sort of a. Sorry.
I mean, Peter Quill's a pretty tough guy not to like, to be honest.
Yeah. I do love the fact that he goes, the boyfriend. I like to consider myself a long time Titan killing booty call. I think it's pretty. I mean, Chris Pratt. I know he's kind of some scrutiny in the media. I love the bloke. I think he's brilliant in this film. I think he's brilliant in anything I've seen him in. And I think I think here he does, because again he's a very comedic actor. You very rarely you get quite a bit of it in Guardians 2. I know me and John are very big fans of Guardians 2, probably two of the biggest fans on the planet. But again, he does the emotion really well here. And do you know what? This is something that some people miss. I know you guys probably didn't, but he actually does go through with his promise to Gamora. He would have killed her if Thanos didn't change it to bubbles. He was going to go through with he does shoot the gun, which I think is brilliant.
And I just love that little thing that it almost becomes like a little meme through parts of the film where things turn into bubbles if Thanos doesn't want it to happen. It's almost like, you could just make that disappear. You could just make it disappear in a puff of smoke or just snap out of nowhere. But no, you're going to turn it into bubbles just to add a little bit more insult to injury.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, all of that as well, that again, he doesn't kill Drax or Mantis here. He turns Drax into like stone and Mantis into ribbons. It shows again that he does, in his twisted mind, have a heart, and he legitimately thinks what he's doing here is good for the universe. He's not trying to be he doesn't think he's evil. He doesn't want world domination or anything. He just wants to try and what he considers saving the universe. I think this is one of the best examples of that.
For somebody who wants to erase 50% of the population, he's quite a humanitarian.
Yeah. Again, obviously, this is probably our first, apart from the opening, first time in about an hour we got our next big defeat of the film. Because obviously, the first time he lost the Space Stone, now he's got 3 of them, and you're thinking, shit. Obviously, now we've first spoke about this earlier, so I won't go into too much. I think we down jumped to Scotland, in which obviously Scarlet Witch and Vision are hanging out and doing their thing. They get attacked, which then leads to Captain America coming in to save the day, which I think again is a brilliant reveal. I like the beard. I wish he kept it for Endgame. I'm a big fan of the beards. He doesn't though.
I like the beard here. I don't wish he'd kept it, but I like the beard here because obviously, Cap is meant to be your kind of militarized. He's the he's the one who's very much the official side of things, and I think it shows how Civil War affected him that he now has the beard. But once we get to Endgame, it's like no, he's back on it. He's back on a mission. He's almost back with his cause, and the beard's gone.
Yeah, no, okay, I see that. I
just like the line later when Thor says, "See, you've copied my beard."
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I forgot about that actually. That's a brilliant line. But yeah, fundamentally, I think it's a really cool return artifact as well. That you think they actually killed one of the Black Order, they haven't. It's one of the only times that the Avengers actually win a fight. I think 1 of 2 in the entire film. And then this is where we get the scene I didn't appreciate very much, which is the Gamora flashback scene, which at first viewing I didn't appreciate. And then you look in the background and you see what actually goes on. Because the first time you watch it, you just look in the foreground. It's not until you look at the background of the scene that you realize what the fuck's going on. So obviously he's attacking Gamora's home planet, and obviously he takes her under his wing. But if you look in the background, you can see Ebony Maw kind of line up people on either side, and one side gets decimated, which I did not pick up on the first time I'd watched it.
Oh, really?
And obviously she goes to look, and he's like, no. You get the knife thing, and obviously then that leads into what we already spoke about. But yeah, I think it's brilliant as well. It kind of shows Thanos' more sadistic side, that he just keeps nicking people from planets as well. And kind of I don't want to say keep them as trophies, but the way he treats his kid is very similar to that.
I think it's a very appropriate description.
Like I say, it kind of reaffirms him, like how kind of brutal he is, and also how he sees it, and also it just reestablishes the Gamora thing. Like, like I say, it's quite intimate moments. You don't realize, you kind of see it from her perspective, like, and then once ever he's been killed, he's like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a great scene. Just again shows Thanos in a way, because I think he thinks he's helping it. You see how genuine he feels in these scenes when he's speaking to her, and he actually does care for Gamora, one of the only kid that he has that he genuinely has some care for. We see what he does to Nebula later on. Poor Nebula in this film, by the way. From here though, we get the great scene with Rhodey where he's supposed to arrest them but doesn't. It's just a fun little scene, to be honest. Where he essentially tells Ross to fuck off. I kind of like it. I think it's kind of nice. That's a nice scene. We finally got a nice scene where nothing bad happens to anyone. Yay! Christ, this film's dark. And John, the next scene kind of affirms what you said about Captain America still being militant, because Vision in the scene kind of challenges his ideology of what it is to be a soldier when he goes, essentially just kill me, just destroy the stone, kill me. And Cap kind of says, we no. And he goes, well, you did that in the war. What difference is this? And then he goes, well, you have a choice. And I think, you could probably talk about how brilliant, again, the writing is here, but I think that's a great scene.
Yeah. It just gets entirely to the crux of Cap's character, and it kind of calls back to that, why there was that split between Cap and Tony in terms of just the difference in philosophy, the difference in approach. It's a fantastic and anything that reminds you that actually Cap is still and always has been a soldier is good.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. As a fanboy of the first Cap film as well, I think anything that kind of harkens back to that, I'm a big fan. What do you guys make, Rees and Adam, of again, kind of Cap's role in this film? Because some people say he gets underserved. I don't know whether I agree, especially with Endgame and hindsight. I think actually he gets served quite well in this film. What do you two make of that?
I think by the end of it, he's our identification point, because he's the one that sees what's going on.
Fundamentally, I'm with you on that. But what do you two make of that? Because some people did say he only appears an hour in this. He comes in first an hour in this film, and then show doesn't really have much to do. What do you guys make of
that? I think I said I think obviously he gets his finish an arc in the fourth one, so I think. But yeah, he obviously is post Civil War, so this is a different Cap, and I think he's all right. I don't think anything.
It's interesting because I don't think he's underserved. I think he has the right amount of moments in there to shine and everything. And considering you have the amount of heroes you have, it's literally different worlds, different things. And for me, this is, I think I'm about to sort of make this as my statement. This is truly Thanos' movie, and almost the Guardians of the Galaxy angle kind of hits, because that's sort of, that's where you first see him and his relationship with Gamora and everything like that. And that's, as you see that flashback, I feel like those scenes are like the key points of that movie. And it's really, I really feel like, for the 10 years that was building, it's the true build-up is to Thanos and like telling his story. As great as it is seeing the heroes and the action and the spectacle, and we have seen that in like the Avengers, Captain America's movies before, but like to see like this is truly Thanos's movie. It's more Thanos Infinity War, if anything. I really paint it as Thanos is the main guy. You see what he wants, what drives him, and everything like that. And I feel like everything is almost secondary, but still playing a pivotal part of the story.
Yeah, I think obviously Thanos gets the most screen time, and I think it works brilliantly. That
I think this is kind of the point that Alex made at the start, and I kind of talked him down to it's a Thanos Thor movie.
And John's going to be looking forward to, because we're not far off the Thor stuff soon. And I know John. I know John's going to love the mix of Thor and the Guardians, and in just a second. So Thor 4 is putting in his favorite Thor film just because you're going to get probably a lot of that.
I'm saying Thor 4.
Thor will be my favorite Thor film because although I like the films that have come before Thor 4, the aforementioned Thor will be
Thorious.
Fortunately, Thorious.
Yes, absolutely. However,
I'm forgiving.
Before we get there, though, John, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, and very fortunately, because I really like to see, we have to go back to Iron Man and the cape. They're trying to.
Fortunately,
this is just kind of a Thor puns podcast now, isn't it? If you can fit any more in, guys, throughout the episode, please do, because you've probably got more of a.
Well, you know what shampoo he uses?
Oh my god! Say it.
L'Oreal. Because you're worth it.
I mean, you know what his favorite television station is?
What's that?
Channel 4.
Yeah. Well, he is worthy of. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Moving on. There's going to be more that pop up throughout this, I'm fairly sure. We get the brilliant scene. We get Ebony Moore's death scene. I really like how silly this is, how Peter works out by watching the great film that is Aliens. And he goes, "I've watched a film. Let's just do that," and it works brilliantly. What do you guys make of that, though? Because again, it comes back to people don't like how silly Peter is, how childish he is, even though he's literally a kid. Which I don't understand. The common criticism of Peter Parker is too stupid in these films, even though he's like 16. I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliantly whimsical.
Go
on, Ed, sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say, he's an 80s kid who it's clear that he didn't grow up in the 80s, but that's still cool because, he references Empire Strikes Back and Civil War and then Aliens in this movie. And I'm pretty sure he had that kind of 80s phase where he's watching just the classics, which is really cool. And yeah, as you say, he is a kid and, the pop culture thing is fun. And I think both set pieces, both like the Empire Strikes Back callback and the Aliens are both, fun little things that I think just like add to the character really. And also it carries on from he had that Ferris Bueller moment in Homecoming as well.
Yeah.
I think him being a kid is kind of the whole point. I don't think that's why people knock it. They seem to forget the fact that yes, he's a kid. He's significantly older than the other Avengers and the other superheroes. He's also significantly less experienced than them because he's only just found out about his superpowers. So yeah, of course he's going to be fresher to this.
There's a great moment, like he's saving up the Strange and the arms come out and he's like, "Wait, what are those?" And it's like, I think it adds a fresh thing to it, like just having that, like you said, being like, "Oh my god!" Like you're like he is essentially the audience in moments like that.
Yeah, I really like it, and again, maybe it's because this is the first time where Peter Parker sort of come out when I'm similar age, but I really like this character, and I think these little things make it more fun. Because I think if a kid was to be a superhero, nowadays they would rely on what they know and what they probably would have seen in films like this. If we did ever have an alien threat and super beings did exist, they probably would watch things like this and go, "Well, we did this in this film, so let's just do it here." I think why not? That's exactly what he'd do. Again, I do like the fact that he doesn't really lose the stakes though, because in that scene with Tony, where he goes, "Kid, you don't decide. This is a one-way ticket." Like he knows that we probably ain't gonna. He's trying to explain to Peter that this is, this isn't fun. Like kind of how Civil War was sort of, he knew that Peter was in no real danger in Civil War. Resist, he knows in this situation he doesn't know how much danger Peter is truly in. I do like that interaction between the two. As well, what do you make of Tony and Peter's connection? Because you kind of get the most in this film, really. You can kind of argue Homecoming as well, but I really like the back and forth between.
I really like it. I mean, I'll come on to it a little bit more as we get towards the end, but I do really like it. I think their chemistry and their connection comes across very well here.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously Doctor Strange is saved, Ebony Moore dies. And I don't know whether any of you guys picked up on this, but you can hear the old classic Wilhelm scream in this film as Ebony Moore goes out of the pod, you get to hear the old Wilhelm scream if you listen very carefully.
I think it's somewhere.
Which I think is a very nice little Easter egg to add, because obviously it starts and it disappears because he just flies out of the ship. So brilliant. I love also the interactions between Doctor Strange and Tony, and then when Peter comes in, I still love the line. Nice to meet you, I'm Peter. Doctor Strange. We're using our made up names. I love that sort of stuff. I don't understand this. Is he your ward? Like stuff like that. I think it is brilliant. As well, I'm going to say as well, we've talked about kudos to actors. Benedict Cumberbatch as well, I think, is amazingly brilliant in this film. I think he doesn't get enough recognition as well, because he's also one of the characters where people don't pick up on the fact that he still has the issue with his hands. He's still always shaking his hands, no matter when he does anything. I really appreciate that he did just bin that off, even though even though he's managed the mystic arts, his hands still aren't perfect. I think it's a brilliant piece of acting by Cumberbatch. Yeah. Very subtle, very, very good.
See with him and Tony being, it's just, you think, bloody hell, it's brutal. He's like, if you two need to die to have the greater good of the universe, then I will let you die. And it's like, bloody hell.
Yeah. What do you make of their different ideologies? Because they're very similar and very different people, aren't they? They're very headstrong. They think they're right all the time. They think they know what's best.
Yeah, constantly clashing, aren't they? It's a constant.
I mean, it's a basic clash between science and mysticism.
Mm-hmm.
And it's they're never going to see eye to eye.
I also like as well, this brings back Tony's PTSD, which was sort of forgotten about after Iron Man 3. You get that brilliant scene where he's been in my head for 7 years. Like, I don't know why he's here, but he is. And I think we need to bring the fight to him. Do you think, obviously, but what would you have done in that situation? Would you have brought the fight to Thanos, or would you have ran the other way, like Strange just said, and fucked off back to Earth?
I would probably have taken the fight to him in like the least, the place where there's going to be the least collateral damage.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, you talk about
come after you.
Yeah, because that Tony says that anyway. He's like, no matter what, he's going to find us. So he was like, yeah, I think it's brilliant. Obviously we'll get to that fight scene in a bit, but now we get to what John's favorite group in the film. Thor, Rocket, and Groot go off in their pod, and I think John will back me up on this. No, because me and him love these MCU moments where it slows down, it's a bit more somber. That scene between Thor and Rocket, where Rocket now goes, now I feel the captain, and he has that one-on-one chat with Thor, and you realise over the course of knowing this character how much he's fucking lost. And they sort of play it off for last, but you go, holy shit, he has lost his mother, his brother, his father, his best friend.
Yeah.
And you go,
yeah. Brilliant. He's lost everything. And it's like, what more has he got to lose? And Rocket's response to that is very clever. Are
you up to this particular murder mission? I think it's brilliant. I think Hemsworth as well, like you said, steals the show in scenes like this where you can be a bit more mellow and just kind of you speak, because Thor as well, up to sort of Ragnarok, was more of this jovial sort of buffoon, if you like, who had great power but sort of didn't take things seriously. And then Tiger sort of grounded him more as a character and made him a bit more it kind of broke him down to his bare.
It made him a bit more relatable.
Yeah. And I think this is brilliant. Between the two, I also love the little small detail that Thor can speak Groot. I think that's really cool.
I like the fact that he speaks Groot because they had it as an optional at Asgard College. It's like, so you can actually choose to learn Groot.
Here's my second question to you guys: would you choose to to learn Groot if you studied in Asgard.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Cool.
I'd love to go traveling with the Guardians. So, yeah, you know, if it's a choice between Groot and I don't know what I mean. Obviously, it depends what other options are on the table. But you know, if it's a choice between Groot and like home ec, Groot every time.
Yeah, totally. John, as well, I think you bring a lot to the Guardians. I think Peter would get on with you quite well because of your music taste.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be like the playlist king. I'd be like the playlist king. I'd probably tread on his toes a little bit, but yeah, I think I'd be a Guardian quite well.
Yeah, no, it's, totally. And obviously, this is, just, I don't know where I'd fit in as an Avenger. People always go Professor X because wheelchair. I don't know. I don't think I'm smart enough to be Professor X, to be honest. But yeah, I think John with the Guardians is right. I think Rees, where would I put you? I'd say you're more like a Tony Stark intern type. You'd be like part of Stark Industries, I think. Yeah.
Sorted.
You
I'll
can be
take
like
that.
you can be Iron Lad.
Where, lad?
I mean, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? You know, I get to fly around space, and Reese has got to be a fucking
He
intern.
gets to hang out with Tony Stark. He gets to hang out with Tony Stark. And probably
Yeah,
he's
I
on a
don't mind the
very
downgrade.
he's probably on a no, you're not on a downgrade, but you're probably on bank.
Yeah,
You're working for Stark Industries. You've probably got a decent money coming in.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I said, I don't know where I'd fit in. I'd probably just be in the TVA.
Or Mobius.
No, I wouldn't be Mobius. I'd be that guy from episode 2 with the stone paperweights thing. That's probably me. But anyway, obviously, this is where we go to Neverdelir. I hope I'm saying that right, because there's a lot of different places in this film and with very weird pronunciations. Turns out Neverdelir is gone. Or so we think. Every single one of the curators is dead until massive Peter Dinklage just absolutely chops Thor. And it's like, shit. And again, more just dark shit in this film with, Eitri the elf saying, he just killed us all, took my hands away and let me live on my own. More brilliant writing as well with going when he goes, Asgard was supposed to protect us, and he realized, oh shit, with Asgard not being around and everything they had, like other planets are in danger as well because they had Asgard as a big protector, and it sort of goes, oh fuck, like the world is literally crumbling and Thanos is just growing stronger because of it. It's like it's not getting any easier. I think it's brilliant writing.
I say I agree with John. It is really like Thanos and Thor's movie because it is like from the get go, obviously killing all the people that survived Ragnarok, Heimdall, Loki, and you've got the journey sort of like right. You think like this throw of like trying to get the Stormbreaker. You think, oh, this is it. It's gonna, obviously goes horrible at the end, but yeah, it's just on a great collision course through the film. Be like, we could do this. Get revenge. Come on. But,
and Thor, like, as you were saying, he sort of lost so much, but still the hero and still taking all that kind of power, what have you, and I kind of feel like, God, you feel terrible because I feel like Thor's really one of the, he's so broken and sort of, and in that kind of moment, still would he's got that kind of strength to really rise up and do what must be done to prevent Thanos from snapping.
There we go. Yeah, I also say, I agree with that. I also really love the line as well, where Thor, again, like you said, kind of takes on this leadership role, and he kind of gives Eitri the words he needs and says to Eitri that your hands was what made your weapons, but it's all up here in your mind. Every weapon, every sword, every axe, it's all here. We can work together and we can do it. I think it's brilliant. Again, Hemsworth coming with the emotional dialogue, because this is all he's got left. If they don't make this weapon, they're fucked. And Thor knows this. There is no other way. This is their last chance. and he's gone through so much shit. And I just love Hemsworth's delivery in this scene. I think it's top notch. It's just the most positive Thomas podcast ever. What's going on?
Yeah,
It's unusual for Alex.
It is. Normally I have something to complain about. What's going on? But yeah, I think it's great. I'm just going to stick with this. I love Thor's like pseudo sacrifice as well. I love as well you get a bit more characterization with Rocket and the wonder of the universe and how his eyes light up and he sees how beautiful Neverdalir is.
Yeah.
It adds more to his character and shows that he's not just this dick all the time, which you definitely get a bit more of in Endgame as well. But yeah, I think this is brilliant. Like I said, this is where Groot comes very, very good for me in the film. And, you know, I love the scene as well where Groot literally picks up this soldering piece of metal and chops his arm off. And you just hear the lightning and you know what's about to happen. And it gives us one of the best entrances in the MCU. I will say that much. But now we got to build up to our big fights. We're gonna, you know, obviously a quick scene in Wakanda is when Bucky gets his arm. That's kind of nice, I suppose. They had to give him an arm. He gets an arm. Not much to say there. An unfortunate thing for me is, again, this is hindsight being 2020, and the Russos have spoken about this, is how little there is of Black Panther in this film. They said if they knew beforehand how big Black Panther was going to blow up, they would have hit with it a lot more. But they didn't know at the time. It was untested waters. And obviously with the passing of Chadwick Boseman as well, obviously we'd love to see a bit more of him in the film. He's still brilliant in it. And like I said, it is a very, hindsight being a very, very sad thing. But
yeah, I mean, they should have known. I mean, that said, when you compare what they did with Black Panther in this film with what they did with Captain Marvel and Endgame,
yeah,
when they were taking a similar risk, if you like, they should have taken that risk.
Yeah,
they should have given him more to do.
Yeah, by now the amount of movies they've done, they should have, definitely more confidence.
They almost learn from it in Endgame, if you like. They almost go, right, okay, here's our most recent superhero, and they're going to come in and kick ass. They should have done that with Black Panther in this movie.
I think
a lot of the Black Panther supporting cast get a fair bit to do, actually. More than Black Panther does.
Yeah, no, my voice there just went. Yeah.
Just turned into a teenager.
Yeah. It sounds like.
I think that's a really good idea.
Oh God, I hate the sore throat. Yeah. But I totally agree. I think it's another. He's probably one of the only victims. I think they do very well at balancing everyone's roles in this film quite well. I think he's one of the only victims of the system, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is obviously, knowing what we know now, it could be that there was more
going on,
and he may not have been fully available for filming at points.
Yeah.
You'll never know. But it could be that there was a practical explanation around it.
So absolutely. Wakanda forever. I'm going to miss him. And I think
forever, and indeed up the irons.
Yeah, all of those things. And I genuinely think when we hear him for the last time, whatever episode it is, I think I genuinely might shed a tear. I came close to it in episode 2.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had a little cry the other day because it was a year ago. It was a year ago.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? A year ago.
Yeah.
And Ad, I remember you sharing a clip with me a year ago after he died, where he, a very similar situation where a kid really wanted to watch Black Panther just to see, a superhero that looked like him, and unfortunately he didn't make it. And you just see Chadwick break down, and that makes you want to break down knowing what Chadwick was going through as well. And I want to say, some people are real life superheroes, and that man was one of them, and still, will have a legacy that will define cinema and the future of superhero films for the rest of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've always been meaning to watch. I think it's the biopic he did of James Brown. I think it, I don't know if it was called Get On Up or something, but
I think it was called Get On Up. Yes.
yeah. And then there was like the baseball movie I think he did with Harrison Ford, and even like 21 Bridges, which I think was produced by the Russos that I've got to see. But as you say, I think what he did with the screen time we got, you know, he really he's shown like, you know, he absolutely gave it his all, and even not just on screen, but as you were saying, you know, being the true superhero in real life, and you know, it's clear that he really connected with his audience and just absolutely embraced, you know, the spirit of the characters just effortlessly. And though he doesn't have much Infinity War, what the scenes are like is when they sort of raise the shields and everything, he sort of makes that decision and then just like charges in, and that's kind of like a air fist pump. I was like, yeah, I kind of feel like that's the true kind of king of Wakanda, you know, making a decision and absolutely just charging in for it, because suddenly you're like, wait, what? He's gonna like raise the shields and, you know, he's gonna let the were-dogs or whatever those weird were-dog like things in, and you know, but you know, he's made that decision, and you know, going in charge and going in full running, and you're like, yeah, because sort of running Captain America, and that's when all the carnage happens.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I you know, I just want to say I do trust Marvel with Black Panther, Wakanda Forever to do the right thing and pass the legacy in the correct way, and whatever that, you know, obviously they've got the blessing of Chadwick's family, and I can't wait to see what they do with that. You know, and I know we had this discussion on the podcast before, and I do just want to quickly get your opinion. Connor was a bit apprehensive to make it sort of an ode to Chadwick. I said you can sacrifice that film all you want to make it as much of a film about the legacy of the character and sort of the person. I don't really mind if you spend an hour or so of that film just making it about that and making it about the legacy of the character of Black Panther. You said, "Oh no, you shouldn't make it about that. You should move on." I think you know, to make it a fair film, they should definitely make it a big thing of you are taking this mantle from one of the greats, in a sense.
I think it's a tricky balance to achieve. I think whatever way you play it, there's always going to be a significant number of people that think you've done it wrong. I think that these days, with the general length that modern movies are, there's no reason why you can't pay something a tribute and tell a story of your own.
Yeah.
You can do those two things at the same time.
Absolutely. Let's quickly continue with Wakanda. I love the quick back and forth that Shuri and Bruce Banner get in this film. I also like how this is kind of the first time you see on the rest of the world level compared to Wakanda level, because see in Black Panther you see that Wakanda is very high tech, but you don't see what the real difference is in terms of how much more do they have than Earth. That quick back and forth between Bruce and Shuri shows the difference in technology like that, because Bruce, obviously, Antonio, two of the smartest minds on Earth. If they can use what they have to their disposal, they'll do it in the best way possible. And Shuri just essentially owns him and says, "Well, why didn't you do it like this?" And he goes, "We didn't think of that." Because she's like, you could have just linked it all together in one and said there's 3 trillion neurons that she has to go through. Again, Shuri is a great character in my opinion. I think she's really cool. A lot of people, you know, again, complaints because she's a teenager. But I think she's kind of funny, and I kind of like the fact that she's smart as well.
Yeah, I think she's great.
I also like the fact as well that she is so opposite to T'Challa, in the sense that he's very stern and doesn't really crack a smile too much. You get the "I never freeze" thing, where she's a lot more bouncy and open and likes to have a bit more comedic moments and has a bit more sarcasm in it. I like the fact that they kind of oppose each other whilst being very, very close at the same time. I think that's a very smart piece of writing.
I think that's nicely done.
I like Bruce Banner, who goes to Rhodey, "Should we bow?" And then T'Challa goes back, "Oh, but we don't do that here." I do like that kind of little comedic moment. I think that was quite funny.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as well as showing that on the battlefield when he's like, "How long is it going to be?" And she's like, "I'll do as fast as I can." And he's like, "Oh, you might want to pick up the pace a bit."
And then this is a Starbucks line as well. It was like, I want to imagine like the Olympics, maybe a Starbucks.
Yeah, I mean,
incredible moments. Yeah.
You get some brilliant. Again, some people have said at this point in the film, because I was watching this with a friend today for the first bit, and when I got here, he said, "Well, this is stupid at this point because they should have just killed Vision." And again, like John said earlier on the podcast, it goes against everything that Cap stands for. If they just went, "Yeah, we'll just kill you, mate," it doesn't make any sense. That's not what the Avengers are about. They're not.
They didn't get this far by making easy decisions like that.
No.
And again, I like Black Widow's little line of "get your ass back on the table." It's like even because she trusts Cap so much, they all do, that they know whatever he's saying is the best way forward.
I think my favourite bit of the entire battle sequence, and I remember laughing out loud in the cinema when it happened, and it still makes me laugh out loud every time I see it, is when Wanda actually comes down from the tower and just does her shit with the red power everywhere, and it's just what was she doing up there?
Yeah.
It's great. It's like somebody who is so powerful who can just take all of these people out. Why was she wasted up in the top of that fucking tower?
Another one for me has got to be Steve Rogers' reply to Groot. I am Groot. I am Steve Rogers.
Yeah, again, there's like this is the film. So you weren't here at this point, Ad, where we said that this is one of the only Marvel films where almost every joke lands. There's not many fluff jokes where you go, they tried, but it didn't really make me laugh. Because the film's quite dark, when they make a joke, it hits relatively well.
Yeah. And it's in keeping with the characters as well. I feel like I don't feel like, would Tony Stark really have said that? Or would, I know, would Peter Quill say that? Like, I think, as you said, the team effort with James Gunn, Taika, and the Russos and everything, all that coming together, they know it's sort of, I trust the filmmakers, producers, and every creative on board that to sort of keep in bit with the character. I think what one of the things was argued was Peter Quill's, I wouldn't say, well, I don't know if selfish is the right word, but like when he does like flip out at Thanos, and punch him and everything like that, it's I saw like well, yeah, we will. That's true.
But I'm with you on that. I think every joke that every character makes in keeping with them. I like the fact that also that Steve Rogers isn't really spooked by aliens as well. He's kind of just like, I think he's learned to expect the unexpected. And I think that's just, but let's quickly get on to possibly the most harrowing scene in the film, a scene as well. Obviously, there's a few scenes that I want to give us a little section, which is the Thanos and Gamora section in the middle of the film, which sort of spans 45 minutes, but you cut back in between.
Oh,
what's that? Is it the scene you're talking about? Yeah. Yeah, it's pain. It's pain. But first as well, you get even more harrowing scenes where he's trying to give her food and she's not taking it, and she goes, why on earth are you doing this? And he gives his way, and you listen to it and you go, I sort of see where he's coming from, where he goes, this universe is finite, its resources finite. If life continues to grow, life will cease to exist. And you sort of go, I've not looked at it that way. And it isn't the correct way of looking at it by any means, but you kind of.
I mean, that Thanos is like the Extinction Rebellion of the MCU. He's got the right message, but he's a twat.
Oh, absolutely. That is the best way of putting Thanos. I think anybody has ever put in our Infinity War Marvel review. Thanos is the Extinction Rebellion of the MCU.
I'm sure that's what Josh Brolin wrote down when he was researching the character.
I've literally just thought of
that. This is why I always say follow John on Twitter, because he comes out with some gold all the time. But yeah, no, absolutely. And you get.
I've currently got about 100 likes for calling somebody relatively prominent in the Doctor Who world a see you next Tuesday.
Oh, come on, say it. We can't have a podcast like you saying it.
Oh no, sorry. Currently on 92 likes. If it gets to 100 by the end of the podcast, then I'll say it.
Ah, shit. And then also before we get into the more harrowing scene, you get the scene of Nebula just being tortured by not only the Power Stone, but also if you look the Space Stone as well. So not only is he, giving her the full brunt of the Power Stone, but he's also manipulating space to make her feel even more pain.
That's such a cool shot.
Pulling the metal bits up, and it rotates around as you see it. And it's like, oh my god!
Yeah, it's such a cool shot. Kind of like you just see her face on, and as you rotate, you just see all the parts that are separate. Yeah, it's really cool. Space.
Oh god,
freaky.
Yeah, and again, you see Gamora. It lasts for a good 30 seconds or so. Like you see how much she doesn't want to give this info up. Like, but she knows that like she can't hold on much longer. And it's like, fuck.
It goes down to the Guardians films being that kind of, obviously through that they got this like love-hate relationship. And obviously by the end of that, they've kind of put that to bed really. So,
I mean, again, it's sort of the first time since they kind of make up you really see it, because when me and John reviewed Guardians 2, you get that brilliant line of you just wanted to win and I just wanted a sister, and you sort of go, fuck, this is somebody that's never felt love in their life, and she's not been given an ounce of, she's never won anything, obviously, which again is a lovely thing that gets brought up in Endgame when she finally wins for the first time, and it's like, oh, nice moment. But no, again, I think it's brilliant that they have this moment. So, not even, they don't really even interact on screen. There's never they never speak. This is all you get, unfortunately. And I think it shows the disaster of the death. But I think this is as evil as Thanos gets in the film. That scene where he's torturing Nebula. I would even say the scene is more evil than the scene with Gamora, in terms of he doesn't need to do this. He kind of enjoys doing this.
Yeah.
And I think, it's horrible. Because like I said, the Russo's go made this like a 10-second thing, and Gamora gives that straight away. But the fact he's doing it for so long and doesn't let up, he doesn't have an ounce of kind of, I think, fuck. Like, he's hell bent to the cause.
He would have killed her if she didn't say anything. Well, I don't think.
All I will say is that I will pose this question to you: do you think he would have done the same thing if it was Gamora in that position? Nebula knew the stuff. Do you think he would have tortured Gamora?
I'm not sure that Nebula would have responded the same way.
No, I don't think she probably would have put that together. Not be made by robot parts, but
yeah.
Yeah, but you could still hurt somebody with the power and space stone, though, couldn't you? Surely. We saw it earlier on in the film with Thor. All he had to do was probably put the gauntlet to her head, and it might not have been
We kind of makes it, obviously, sadly makes the ultimate sacrifice of her. Like,
yeah.
But there's a great line where they're going to the Soul Stone place, and he's like, "Oh, if you're wrong, I will go back and
kill her."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, fuck. Yeah, it's... Adam, what do you make of that scene?
Yeah, it's very brutal. It's kind of like it's one of those like, oh my god, what are they doing to poor Nebula? And I do feel this kind of unease watching it, but it does make you feel like sort of tense, like it builds up a good amount of tension, the more she sort of coming apart, I suppose. And then my god.
Yeah, Christ. As well, I think this is the first, bit of first time you've seen Nebula since the redemption as well. So just adds that extra. Christ, this girl can't catch a break.
No.
So yeah, John, obviously I saw by your reaction as well that you obviously have this. I want to let you talk to the scene because clearly you have this affinity, as we all do. But by your reaction, obviously, you just take people through it, and your thoughts and your feelings.
I mean, it's heartbreaking. I mean, I mean, firstly, it is obviously a scene of torture. It's a scene of the physical torture of Nebula. It's a scene of the emotional torture of Gamora, from somebody who's wielded power over them pretty much as long as they've lived. I think it's about, for me, and others might disagree depending on how they connect with other characters in the film, but for me, it's as dark as this film gets. Because it is brutal, it's sustained. Unfortunately, it's also necessary because you have to kind of show that turmoil in Gamora, the fact she isn't gonna give this up, and like the psychological mind game between her and Thanos is just epic and wonderful. And then obviously it gets to the point where it's like, are you mad with me because I didn't have it? It's like, no, I'm mad with you because you lied to me. Yeah, like, he knows all along what's been going on, and it's like shit.
Yes,
and from that, you kind of know from that moment where this is going for Gamora. It's kind of clear from that moment where this is going for Gamora, and you're just not entirely sure how you're going to get there.
Yep.
And then obviously once you do get there, it just hits you like a punch in the gut. And the way that whole scene is filmed and scored and orchestrated and portrayed and performed is just perfection. It's just an emotional gut punch. And like that whole thing of the fact that they do that thing where she thinks that she's won. She thinks at the very last moment that she's got him because Thanos is crying, and it's like, I've got you because you don't love anything. And then the guy's like, no, he's crying because he knows what he's got to do. And it's like, God.
Absolutely. But yeah, John, I'm fully with you. And like I said, big ups to Ross Marquand. I don't know if he's still in The Walking Dead. You can confirm for me. I don't know whether he still is. I don't know what character he plays.
I believe so. He's Father Gabriel, isn't he?
No, he's. Oh, let me look at him. Let me look. Let's do some late minute googling.
I get a little bit confused with all the names, I must say.
I'm going to be honest with The Walking Dead. I don't blame you. Who does he play in The Walking Dead? He plays Aaron. Is Aaron still in The Walking Dead?
No, he's dead.
Did Aaron die? Okay, he's no longer in The Walking Dead. Okay. So no more Aaron in The Walking Dead. I think he does a pretty good job here, and doing Red Skull. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of Red Skull's kind of arc over the MCU? Because he disappeared in Captain America 1, and now he's here doing this.
I have many a question. What does he eat? How does he keep alive? Is there a local KFC? Is there
Vormir KFC?
He's hidden behind a rock.
Yeah, like how have you, like, from 1940, I want to say now 240s, to where he is now, like just how is he sort of been keeping, That's what I sort of, there should be like kind of like that, a bit of story where we see the sort of what Red Skull gets up to, maybe we don't want to know, but it's just interesting to see him, how he's been keeping.
He's been in Scotland getting his kebab deep fried.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I do like the fact as well, though, it shows. It also showed that you can just, that they thought entirely about point A to point B with this roadmap. Obviously, they changed certain things, but they thought, right, how can we try and get as many characters in this film as possible that fits within the already established, already established film and just kind of wrap up arcs. I think this is a very good. It also shows the power of the stones, and like Red Skull mentions, the wisdom that they have. They're smart. They will punish you. If you're not, they know what they're doing. They can, and I think this is a great. It's kind of like this is what Thanos could become if he's not careful, type thing. I think it's brilliant, and like you said, the death is brilliant. And so he's on his acting where she's laughing. She thinks that, oh yes, I've won, and then the Red Skull says the line, "The tears are not for him," and you go, and she realizes.
Can people stop messaging the podcast chat because it's making the bleep go onto the podcast? I muted the other chat, thinking to myself, well, nobody's going to be fucking silly enough to message the podcast chat when there's a podcast recording, and Alex is messaging it.
Sorry, there's some people that are late.
The main culprit is here.
It's me. Yeah, it's me. But yeah. But no, I think it's brilliant. The death is also just sad. There's only music. Again, Silvestri's score comes in. There's no audio, and the shots. So you see Gamora full. You see Thanos taken down a peg as well for the first time in the film, where
you see him affected. You see him affected by it. It's devastating.
And it's a great it's a great performance from Brolin, but like the motion capture, honestly, it's honestly kind of next level because he's he's a motion capture animated character, but there's still that you still believe in it and the realness from the performance to actually bringing that character to life. That I really am in that illusion that of feeling the realness of the scene.
Hang on, Josh Brolin isn't actually 15 feet tall?
Yeah, he's not purple. What the fuck? That wasn't prosthetic.
He was. Sorry, you're right. Yeah, because he was 15 feet and purple in No Country for Old Men. If I remember.
Adam, you've killed the magic.
Yeah, as you recall, he played Barney the dinosaur in No Country for Old Men.
Wow. Is it the Coen brothers who made that movie? That's a bold move, Coen brothers.
Yes, I love you. Now I'm going to shoot you in the face. I think that
not
was
the first time that Alex Kingdom's ever said that sentence. And that's actually his Friday night line when he's that's actually his Friday night line when he takes a lady back to his crib.
Oh, we got here.
He's also 15 feet and purple in The Goonies.
I mean, you cannot say something like that and not.
Oh no, don't worry, mate. You're fine. Right. Right, we're now firmly in the third act, and there's two big set pieces to talk about, but we're going to be heading to Titan first because obviously the big finale is on Wakanda. So unfortunately, the giant donut crashes in with our three heroes: Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Iron Man. And this is where the film for me gets brilliant because you see Avengers versus Guardians for a quick sec. And I love this little fight because obviously you get Peter again doing the pop culture references where he goes, look, if anyone tries to put eggs in me and I try and eat you, I'm sorry. And Tony goes, shut up with the pop culture references. And he's trying to say something's coming. And then you get Quill and Drax and Mantis just like climb, to say that try and destroy them. And then it all breaks down into some brilliant bit of dialogue. But he goes, they do it. There's only one bit of dialogue here that does sort of upset me because I think Peter's not this dumb. Where Iron Man goes, you're from Earth, and he goes, no, I'm from Missouri. I'm like, Peter has said in previous Guardians films that he's been from Earth. Like, he's not. It's a minor nitpick, but he's not that slow.
He's not, no.
And like, I swear in the Guardians films, he does mention that. He also, Ego says it a lot of times in Guardians too, that his mother, visited his mother on Earth. So it's like, that's one of the only times for the dialogue, which is brilliant in this film. kind of falls flat, I think, in the effort to get a joke. Because the next line where Doctor Strange goes, "What master do you serve?" and he goes, "What master do I serve?" But I'm supposed to say Jesus. It's legitimately quite funny. And I think that's brilliant. So it shows that they clearly have an idea of what they're doing with the character. I think that's just one line there that somewhat falls.
I mean, could it have been like a deliberate joke that he's playing, like that he's in on? It could be that actually he's taking the piss.
I think the best 3 lines in that scene is, "Where's Gamora?
I'll do you one better. Who is Gamora? I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora?"
Why is Gamora?
And obviously you get the realization that they all think that either side is working for Thanos, and that's not the case. And then you get the brilliant back and forth and 2 more leaders between Star-Lord and Iron Man, who are literally opposite sides of the coin. One of them is tactical and likes to do things by the book, and Star-Lord is like going to wing it. And I love it when he goes, "Look, we're all just plucky guys." He's like, "Hey, look, don't call us plucky. We don't know what it means." Stuff like that, I think, is brilliant. You get the nice little back and forth of the Footloose stuff where they both directors tell about the dance off to save the universe. And then Peter goes, like, in the movie Footloose, he goes, "Is it still the best film of all time?" It never was. And you get that little look from Peter like, "Fuck you." Also, underrated line of the film. I'm with the Avengers. Oh, like Kevin Bacon, he might be on the team. I've not been there for a while.
Spider-Man going, "What is it exactly they do? Kick names and take ass, apparently."
Yeah. I think it's brilliant. Yeah, and obviously then you get the Doctor Strange. He's looking through all the results, and you get that brilliant line from Tony who goes, how many did we win? And he says 1. And you're like, this is how high the stakes are here.
Yeah.
Like, this has to go. There's only, I think it's brilliant. Then we get possibly my favorite fight scene in the entire film. I know, obviously, I think this is as fantastical and brilliant as it gets. I don't know if anyone wants to take us through it, just to give my voice a break, because I can feel it cracking a bit more and more. But anyone want to take to some of their favorite moments of the fight? If any of you want to jump in with just some of your favorite bits.
I'll let one of the other guys jump in on this one, because I took the lead on the last one.
Do you mean from when Thanos goes Doctor Strange until they capture him?
When they're trying to get the glove off. Let's go with when they're trying to get the glove to start with.
So Thanos arrives. Obviously, the surprise to see Doctor Strange there, and they have a great sort of conversation, and sort of Thanos takes him through Titan and the history of sort of what happened to his planet, and trying to make logical sense of what he's seen and why he's on that kind of mission path to wipe out the universe. Obviously they trap him, and Iron Man comes from above. Just great team play. Highlights Spider-Man jumping through the portals. Maybe with Doctor Strange.
I love the lines: magic with a punch, magic with a kick, more magic.
Yeah,
I think that's brilliant.
And even what Thanos says afterwards, insect.
Yeah.
Well, no, Thanos, technically he's an arachnid, but we'll let you off.
Yeah.
But it's funny because he's just getting hit by all sides. You got Star-Lord putting the bomb in his back, and then Nebula
boom
crashing in. Yeah.
It's top tier. Again, Nebula as well, using one of the ships from, I think Korath was using in Guardians 1. That's a nice little Easter egg for you there. But no, some brilliant stuff in this particular side of the fight. You've got Doctor Strange multiplying himself to look like, I believe, like an Egyptian god at one point, and then Thanos wonderfully uses the Soul Stone to figure out which one's legitimately him, which is very smart. And I like little hints like that when you look at the stones light up. I really like that sort of stuff.
And when he crushes the other planet and throws it down on them, that was pretty heavy, man.
Pretty brutal. And then obviously they manage to get the better of Thanos. You get the scene where obviously Strange says to the Cape, "Don't let him close his fist." And then you get the scene where they've literally almost got it off. Mantis is on top of Thanos and she makes him go to sleep. And unfortunately, like Adam mentioned earlier, Peter decides to gloat and he finds out something that if he found out a minute later on, would have been more useful, unfortunately, because he finds out that Gamora dies and he loses it. And Adam, I'll let you go back to your point you were going to make about half an hour ago, however long ago it was, because...
Yeah, basically, obviously, I think a lot of people say, "Oh, Peter Quill's like the villain," like just because they almost got it off. Like as you were saying, it's sort of what if it happened like a minute later? Like the scenario, it might maybe even play out similarly, but also a bit different as well. It's very interesting to see how people were reacting to Star-Lord. Would Star-Lord? Would Star-Lord act this emotional? Because it's weird actually reflecting on the Star-Lord Gamora relationship. I almost get it like at the beginning, like sort of first guys, I almost like he liked her more than she liked him. But I feel like maybe more of Infinity War, I thought they were a good couple in Guardians too. But then I think it's probably Infinity War where I really felt a kind of equal amount of a sense that they did they had like an equal amount of affection for each other. Yeah. They're like really good together, but it did feel a bit uneven to start, but then I think as the relationship developed, it was till Infinity where I went, cool.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it totally is within Peter's character. I know John and I can comment on this as well, and so because we watched the Guardians recently, but he is known for going over the top and letting the emotions get the better of him. And yes, he is an idiot in the scene, but then again, though, he's not a particularly smart character. He is in terms of he's not as dumb as not knowing that Missouri's on Earth type thing, but he's definitely hot-headed. He is lost very so he sort of shows the difference between him and Thor, because Thor has lost a similar amount to what Peter has lost, and he's took it in the completely opposite way. If he's taken it as right, we're going to go systematically, we're going to do this, whereas Peter can't handle that. And then the way he knows how to deal with that is by retaliating. We saw that in Guardians 2, where he shoots the shit out of Ego. That was his first port of call. It's just, I think I agree with Adam, it entirely in keeps with what we know of him up to this point.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think that moment in the script is meant to infuriate you. I think you're not meant to go, you're meant to go, Peter, you fucking idiot. You're not meant to go, Peter was just doing, you're meant to go, what the fuck, man? You're not meant to be entirely on his side here. You can, but that's what they're going for.
I think, you're not meant to be entirely on his side, but you can also see what's going on.
Absolutely.
He just lost a woman that he loves.
Yeah.
And you'd have to be a pretty harsh asshole to judge him for it.
I think obviously viewing it as like the grander thing as the audience being like what it means in the grander scheme of things. But if you're in his shoes, what would you do?
No, I absolutely agree with you guys, and I think you got it in the head. Like I said, that's how him and Thor parallel. Not only is how they were mentioned earlier on in the film, but with all the shit that they've gone through, they've also lost everything. Peter's lost both his parents as well, and Gamora was sort of didn't think he really had left. So to lose that, I think, I think it's brilliant as well. I think also some of the stuff you get later on in this fight scene is even more harsh. You get this thing of, where Tony goes, you throw another moon at me and I'm going to lose it. And you get that one-on-one between Tony and Thanos where he says, Stark. And he goes, you know me. And he goes, you're not the only one that's cursed with knowledge. And it's like, legitimately, these Thanos one-on-one, you really get in the film, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And you see how much Tony puts in. He goes, it shows how brilliant Thanos is. He goes, all that for a drop of blood. And it's so good. You just see him wipe it off. But Tony never gives up, and he fights to the end. I love a bit of Thanos characterization here because he still respects Stark. Because even when he's on the brink of killing him, he goes, "You are brilliant. I hope they remember you." Like, he knows how good Tony is. He respects him as a person and as a being, and doesn't really want to kill him. But he's so committed to the cause that nothing's going to stop him.
No.
Again, I also love the bit as well where you literally, because obviously it's a Disney film and it's Marvel, but you do see the blade go in the side of it, and you think, because everyone in the hype was like, "Who's going to die?" And you think, "Shit, they're playing on your mind, going, Tony's about to die. Like Tony's going to die at the end of Infinity War, and that's going to be a linchpin going into Endgame." I love
Just
that.
wait,
bit.
one more film,
Yeah.
and then you'll get sadly.
6 more podcasts.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think, like you say, because there's been so many kind of deaths and that, you think, oh my god, is he going to make the next film? Like, yeah, I remember being like, oh.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant back and forth, and I love the line of dialogue where Strange gives him the stone, and you get that bit of where you get the line, which now in hindsight makes sense, where Doctor Strange goes, "It was the only way." We'll get back to that later on with the snap and stuff. Let's go back to Earth, where our heroes are unfortunately getting absolutely dogged, no pun intended, by the things on Wakanda, those hell dogs or whatever Adam called them. And now it's time for the best entrance in all of Marvel, and I'm sticking with that, even with Endgame and things we've got before. Thanos' land on Wakanda is sick, and it just fundamentally changes the tide. And the fact he just shouts, "Bring me Thanos," and you get that shot of him with all the lightning, and he slams it down, is insane.
Yeah, it's like Brock Lesnar coming out at the Royal Rumble as a surprise entrant, number 30.
Yep.
It's that sick.
Yeah, no, totally. I also love as well, this allows for some interactions. So you get the like Adam mentioned earlier with Thor going, "Yeah, you copied my beard, I see." And Cap goes, "Oh, you copied my hair," and he goes, "This is my friend, the tree." And he goes, "I am Groot," and you get the "I am Steve Rogers." You also get Bucky and Rocket kind of back and forth. He goes, "How much for the gun? Not for sale. How much for the arm?" And he goes, "I'll get that arm." I was like, as well, he just picks him up and spins him as they shoot. I think that's pretty cool. I also have to give a shout out to, they got also people on Twitter, some circles of Twitter hate because it's 3 women, but I really loved the fight between, Black Widow, Wanda, and what's her name? I always forget her name. Okoye fighting Proxima Midnight. I think it's a sick fight between the 3 because it also as well ends on the thing where she goes, "You're all alone," and then you get Black Widow going, "She's not alone," and either side. You've got 3 of the baddest women in the MCU. Just you're about to die. Like, you fucked up.
It's like a precursor to that more epic scene that you get at the end of Endgame, where all of the female superheroes just
absolutely kicking names and taking ass, as our great Mantis would say. But yeah, no, I also like the fact that how she dies. She gets absolutely ran over by one of those wheel things. It's pretty fucking
it's
brutal.
cool because whilst the fight is going, obviously you've got that sort of coming ahead, so you know it's being like
you've got like you've got like the combine harvester
That's too close to Reese's heart. That is, it's close to Reese's heart. That is, and mine. But yeah, as well, also like as well as sort of the protection. This fight is all about protecting Vision, and like Adam said, and when we were talking about the Chadwick Boseman, how much of this is all about protecting Vision. You see the dogs go around the side of the barrier in between this, and essentially it's all about protecting Vision. And as soon as Wanda leaves, that's when the other member of the Black Order comes in and, essentially destroy. Essentially, Vision is fucked. Like, I love the decision to make where they just were like, we're going to nerf Vision for the whole of this film. Like, he is out for the count from essentially, after about 2 minutes of seeing him. He is just not in any shape to fight or anything. We also get some great moments of Hulk in the Hulkbuster, Bruce in the Hulkbuster rather, as well. Just some really, really, really good stuff. But I like as well that you get the trade of heroes trying to help out Vision. So you get Bruce going over there to try and help him before everyone else gets there. And unfortunately, the big guy is back, and he's like, you know, Bruce has to take him on. I like how he kills him, or he blows him up with one of the arms on the Hulkbuster.
That did make me laugh. Yeah, I was like, see ya.
We get also, like Rees alluded to earlier, with the original scene of Hulk turning into, well, you know, Bruce Hulkified, smart Hulk.
That's a smart Hulk, yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I don't know what they're calling it in the MCU. I don't know. We'll call it Smart Hulk. But we don't get it in that film because we get the whole, you know, Hulk. I know you had to come out the last second, but this is the last second. Like, please, and he's like, no, screw you, big green asshole.
And I think do you know what was clever about the marketing is there's that shot where everybody's running in Wakanda and Hulk's there, and I think it might have been one of the toys where it was sort of Hulk bursting out of the Hulkbuster suit, which like obviously never happened in the final movie. Whether it was going to be the scene that was going to be in there, but I can see why it's not, to be honest.
Yeah, because didn't you say, Reese, there was some behind the scenes in which the Russo brothers said originally that was going to be the case?
Yeah, so the original thing was when he's fighting. Is it Obsidian?
Let's go with that. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, so I think the original thing was they're kind of fighting and they kind of merge within that moment. So he breaks the Hulkbuster thing, beats him, and then is revealed to be Smart Hulk. I think there's in the deleted scene, Natasha goes to like calm him down like they do, like she did in Avengers Age of Ultron and stuff, and he's like, "Hi, Nat," and she's like, "What the f?" But yeah, it just kills the whole momentum of where the sort of end goal is. It just stops the whole flow of it. So that's what is cut and left to the beginning of Endgame.
And bar the film, I'm going to take a guess and say this next bit I'm going to mention is John's second favorite bit of this fight scene, which is where the guy with the massive Sith or scythe or whatever you call it gets towards Vision, and Cap is like comes in to like sacrifice himself, and then Vision, and he goes, "Run away, Vision, run away!" And then Vision kills him and says, "We don't trade lives, Captain," which just entirely shows that Vision has learned. And it's, you know, when it comes down to those moments, because obviously Vision's an AI that is learning and growing, and that's obviously the point that Bruce made earlier on, is that he's learning, he's adapting, he's evolving, and we keep hearing that about the film. I think Tony's the first person to mention that actually to Bruce. I think that's how he kind of says how Vision's gone off grid. So it's an amazing scene. I think it's fucking brilliant. That I love. Again, it still shows even now after Cap has been sort of harmed by the system, he's still got this selflessness.
Yeah.
Even to the last moment to save a fucking android, like he doesn't like. I think that just shows how beautiful of a person he is. I also have to give credit to a line. Obviously, you don't realize until the second time you watch it, Thanos will have nothing but dust and blood. Oh God, why did you have to say that, mate? But yeah, unfortunately, Thanos has got the time stone, and he about to wreck shop on Wakanda.
Starbucks.
They didn't have time to build the Starbucks, mate. Unfortunately.
But did they?
Imagine in the next Olympics in Paris, we get a Wakanda entry into the Olympics. I'm just saying though, I do feel for the Paralympics, it would be slightly unfair because I feel like their wheelchairs or their, everything they would have to help with people could be like super teched up to the max. I feel like, you see them running and they've got like, powers of the heart-shaped herb or something, or vibranium, I think everyone else will be like, what the fuck? Where's our funding? I think it would make the Olympics much more interesting, for sure. Wow. But obviously, we do get a tiny moment to regroup here. I think it's kind of earned because very similar to Endgame, the last 30 minutes have been relentless battling. It's like it's very much this is our two set pieces that mirror each other. And I want to ask quickly before we get into the very final, because these are the final bit is kind of very separated from me. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer the Titan battle or do you prefer the Wakanda kind of dog battle?
It's Wakanda for me. But possibly because I'm a bit more emotionally invested in some of the people that are down there.
Yeah, I'd probably go for Titan. I think just the Iron Man story. Yeah. So, but it's a bit for everybody, isn't it? Everybody gets their time to shine.
Yeah, what about you, Adam?
Tough, man. It's tough. I think I really like the Iron Man, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Guardians fight. Mainly because I really like the sort of the conversation that leads to it as well, I suppose, because I think it's as much about the dialogue and the drama in that fight sequence as much as the actual, actual battle itself, and also Thanos crushing that planet, that kind of epic kind of moment, and also how it sort of ends with the "I hope they remember you" line that Thanos has at the end. It's really something when the opponent is sort of showing respect to the fighter, I suppose.
Yes, I think I like both. I think we all love both. I think they're both almost flawless, to be honest. I think, like John said, I think it kind of falls on what side of the coin and what heroes you prefer, and then by that proxy, you'll prefer either fight.
I think the funniest bit is when they all just go to find Vision and Thor just left there, just taking out every ship on his own, just like wrecking shop. Yeah,
absolutely. And again, we get the bit as well where Vision goes, he can feel the stone telling him that something's going on. I like the fact as well that you get the moment where Bruce tells Cap that that's Thanos, and I know because you guys I love it as well. How selfless the heroes are. They just run at him. They know they got no fucking chance, but they just run at him in every effort to try and protect Thanos. But again, it shows Thanos' selflessness here that he doesn't go for straight kills. In this situation, he could have just killed them all off instantly, but he doesn't. He kind of he impedes.
Well, it's just like flies, aren't they? Like he has his end goal. He sees the stones. He's just like doosh, 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 go away.
Yeah, exactly. And then yeah, exactly. And then you get the amazing end of where you get. I love, but I hate the line. We are out of time, and you get to that realization of this is it.
We're in the end game now.
They do exactly the same thing as they did with the Thanos and Gamora scene, in that they let you think that they've won. They let you think that Scarlet Witch has kind of done it and destroyed the Stone in Vision's head.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you realise, shit, he's got the time stone.
Yeah, exactly. No,
it's brilliant.
I'm fully with you on this one. I think it's brilliant. I think we've already talked about Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen's performances, but I still think it's brilliant here. I have to mention it again because you get again the Russos decided to opt to go with just score, no sound effects, and you get the bit where Cap does the knee slide and he punches Thanos, and you get the bit from the trailer where he's actually using his last efforts to hold the gauntlet. And Thanos sort of looks impressed. He just punches him, and the camera follows him down to the ground. And you're like, "Fuck!" You're like, "Shit!" And again, John. They do it twice in this scene because you think Scarlet Witch has won. He reverses time, gets the stone, and then Thor comes down, gets him in the trash. You're thinking, "Yes, he's done it!" And then you get that old forsaken line. You should have gone for the head, and you just get that click. They should just added that sound effect in the film.
Would that be a good what if episode?
That's what they should have done. They should, as he's gone, you should have gone for the head. They should have just had Kenneth Williams walking past in the background and just turned to the camera and goes, "Oh."
Well, that should have been the snap. Oh.
Yeah. And again, you get possibly one of the best scenes of the film where Thanos is. We always call it the Soul Realm. I don't really know what to call it. Where he kind of sees young Gamora and she asks him, "What did it cost?" And he goes, "Everything," because to him, Gamora was everything. And at this point, he's got nothing else. He's got nothing else to lose. We talked about other characters like Thor, and having nothing else to lose. That after he killed Gamora, he had nothing else to lose.
Yeah.
So we get that brilliant bit, and then we get the 5 minutes of harrowing death scene. Who wants to take us through this one? Because I don't want to do it.
I mean, it's horrible, horrible, horrible. But all that I want to do is talk about the worst one for me. So I'll let somebody else take us through it.
Go on, Ads.
Go on, Adam.
Right. Okay. So
Good luck remembering it all.
You don't need to do it in order. I
was going to
to
say, like, I don't remember it in order, but I suppose I do remember the first one. It was Bucky. He's like Steve, and then he falls that. Black Panthers as well was good. Like, that was quite heartbreaking. He's like, "This is no place to die," and he sort of holds his hand out, and then sort of you can see sort of the arm, the outstretched hand, and yeah, because I suppose in my head, whilst I was sort of watching it happen, I was kind of like, right, who, because I knew obviously everyone was disappearing, but like, who is it going to be? And sort of, because I feel like in each moment, there's like a character going, but then another character feeling that pain, like particularly with Groot. You see how Rocket's sort of like he's broken, like I really feel for Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper's like that was emotional, and then most of the Guardians do go, but of course I've just got to do this one more thing. There's one more thing. It's Spidey, of course. He's a kid, and he doesn't feel well, and how he's holding Tony tight, and that's what gets me.
That's the worst one for me. That Mr. Stark, I don't feel too good, and
because
by that point you've seen it happen to everybody else, and me and my sister were in the cinema. We're like, oh shit.
Yeah. I also have to give a credit to the Groot one as well, because I think the directors, or it was James Gunn, revealed that in the script, the last word Groot says to Rocket is "Dad," and if once you find that out, you're like, oh no, not because obviously he's already lost Groot once as well. And again, I think what the brilliant thing about the Spider-Man one on Titan is that there's been an equal balance of people dusting and people not dusting. So you've already lost all of the Guardians, Doctor Strange. So you're thinking, surely the three that are going to survive are Nebula, Tony, and then Spidey, and then they rip that away a few seconds later, and it's when he's like, you're okay, because he has to believe that he's going to make it out of this. And I like the fact to his last second he's apologizing and he goes, I'm sorry, like he's let Tony down, to his last second. All he wants to do is impress this man.
Awful.
Yeah,
and I
think it's a good shout. The shot, obviously all these are quite intimate moments, like between like two characters losing someone, like I said, that's really like close to them. But there's a great shot of M'Baku and like the battlefield, and it all slowly and it's just you just see him being like, what the hell is going on? But it's just
no, absolutely. I'm fully with you on that, and I also think as well there was some brilliance here. So the fact that this is probably one of the only times in the MCU you see Drax vulnerable, and he's entirely out with them, and that's where you see him say his Quill, and you get Strange, who's probably the most composed, because obviously he's seen all this, and you sort of forget that in the moment. But when you go, there was no other way. Like when you look back on it, he knew it was going to go down this way. Like he knew that he was going to die. Like it's fucking hell, man.
Well, once Endgame, and you kind of get it once you said about when he had this conversation, Tony saying, "Oh, you have to if you get in the way, if it's you or the stone, I'll put the stone first." But obviously, when he's doing this stuff, you think, well, he's seen forward, he knows.
He knows exactly how to make it absolutely work. But even though without the deaths, I've got to say the last shot of this film is fucking brilliant. Before that, obviously, we get the bit on Wakanda
with Thanos in the house.
Yeah. Um, First of all, we get that scene of, obviously we've spoken about in this film of like everyone looking up to Cap, and you get that scene of where I think it's Bruce that goes, "What's just happened?" And Cap this time can't give an answer. He just goes, "Oh my god," because he knows that like he doesn't know. That's the thing. But then you get that brilliant shot of Thanos, like he said in his thing, watching the sunrise over a grateful universe, and he just
says
sits
that's
there.
strange, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, and he just sits there and he smiles because he thinks he's done the world a good thing. And you're thinking, and it just leaves you on that. There's no fancy credits. There's no nothing. Fade to black. The end.
It leaves you with that feeling of how the fuck are they going to resolve this?
Yeah. Even watching it yesterday, it was just like I had this deep breath of being like, oh my, you just deflation of it's you don't know what's gonna happen.
And it also, I don't know about anybody else, but it also left me with something which is very rare, and I've only really sort of experienced maybe once or twice other times in a cinema, where when it finished, I was sat there and like one of the prime thoughts in my head was, I'm never gonna see that for the first time again.
Yeah.
It was that good that like I had a little tear running down my face. I was like, I am never gonna see that for the first time again. I'm never gonna have that exact emotional experience of watching this wonderful film for the first time again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that. And I think like Adam said when he joined, it's Thanos' film. It opens with Thanos, it closes with Thanos. He's won. He is, unfortunately, he is the hero of the film in the eyes of the film. He's not, and he's going to get taken down a peg. But in the eyes of the film, he's completed his conquest. I do like the fact as well, again, the dialogue's so good that he says he's going to watch the sunrise over a grateful universe. And the last thing you see is him watching that sunrise. I think that's a beautiful piece of writing once again. I'm just all in on this film, and especially the last hour. I think, like I said, Adam, I think you missed it because we're at the beginning, but I've seen this film countless times now, and it never gets dull. I can rewatch it, and it still goes by at a pace. Like I never here's this bit again. No, I think this film is like brilliant.
It's as good as filmmaking gets.
Yeah, you were saying about. I remember John saying about you'll never watch it for the first time, but then like it's interesting, I suppose, being finishing that and then waiting, I suppose, for Endgame, having that year gap to sort of mull over, or how will they be able to solve it? And
that was the most painful year of my life.
And theorizing, well, what could this mean for the future, and how, and is it all going to happen? I suppose there's another dusting, well, two more dustings we've got to talk about, and that's Maria Hill and Nick Fury. You
missed that. We spoke about that very quickly at the beginning. You missed it. That's what being late gets you.
Feel free to add your thoughts, mate.
So your review is like the end was the beginning, and now.
Well, I think John made a comment of like this is his the beginning of the film was one of his favorite beginnings, and so I went with all the post credit scenes, my favorite post credit scenes, and we sort of went like that.
Yeah, and we'll know where it came from was like you kind of said that,
Nick Fury.
Some people were critical because Nick Fury wasn't.
Yes.
And I kind of said, Nick Fury has one purpose, and it's to send that page in the post-credit screen, which is one of the best post-credit scenes in MCU.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because like you said, John, you're seeing the whole thing of like once you take away people from like planes, cars, and that chaos.
Yeah, it's like it's the fact it's not just about the 50% that are gone. It's the fact that of those 50% that are left, so many are going to be seriously injured. So many really killed by like accidents and plane crashes and like because there's somebody in charge of an important lab or machine and something goes wrong. It's
it's totally it's totally brilliant. And yeah, guys, I think that's going to essentially wrap up our Avengers. And unless anyone's got any points that they really want to talk about. Obviously this has been a long one. So I appreciate everyone that's listened from beginning to end. I'm hoping these four will come back for Endgame, even though technically, I'm hoping these four and others. There was meant to be 6 of us today, and there wasn't. So hopefully I can get the entire crew for
you can
Endgame.
snap them back.
Yeah, for Endgame. But also, because I know people have been clawing me going, where's Adam, where's Rees? Because they used to be like, I know Adam used to be on it like almost every other week, and now he's not been on it since, I think maybe March. So he's here now. Also, I think
the last...
I think in the pipeline we could probably do a Brooklyn Nine-Nine podcast as well, and that ends and wraps. We're probably gonna have to talk about that.
Oh God, no! Can
that's
it not
soon.
end?
Mate, we wish, but it's on the horizon.
Oh, sorry,
Jeez.
Adam, but you're going to have to do another podcast with Alex.
Speaking of doing another podcast with me, on the horizon as well is me and John talking about Doctor Who and the Silurians. That's going to be a tasty one because me and John disagree on the quality of that story almost entirely. So
has absolutely no taste.
I was gonna say I know who's gonna like it, who's not gonna like it.
But as well, I just want to say a massive thank you to John, Rees, and Adam for joining me today. You can follow. Let's see if I can get the socials correct. John is at John_Cook. I know that. Adam, have you changed yours, or is it still a man of film? Because I don't know.
I am beer_can_Batman. I'm gonna take that username and just run with it now, because I'm also on Instagram as beercanbatman, and we'll see how many cans of beer I can put the Batman branding on. That's the plan.
Right, and now Rees is the difficult one because I think it's GF 97. Is it YouTuber? Is that correct? There we go. It's almost like you can't type Rees Marshall on Twitter and find it because it's just not his name, and it's very difficult to find him on Twitter. So I had to remember how to spell Gallifrey. Anyway, when I first started to find you on Twitter, I was like, I don't know spell Gallifrey. So I had to look at your YouTube, copy and paste it in the search bar, and then find you on Twitter. But there we go. Guys, thank you so much. You guys can check out everything in Linktree, Spotify, YouTube, Apple and Google, as well as the new gaming channel which recently launched, and there's going to be content on there as well. So tons of stuff. I don't know what next week podcast is going to be. I need to work out the schedule. It could be Silurians. I don't fucking know. We'll figure something out. Essentially my whole goal for this week was getting this podcast done, and I'll fix everything else around that. But until then, guys, stay classy, stay great, and we'll see you next time for Avengers Endgame.
Do you want my catchphrase in Groot?
Yeah, go on.
I am Groot.